Get this filthy black street rat away from my table before he infects my wounds worse than they already are. Vincent Blackwood screamed those words so loud that 40 wealthy guests on the Grandview Terrace rooftop stopped breathing. His face twisted with disgust as he stared at the barefoot child standing 3 feet from his $18,000 wheelchair. The boy did not flinch. The boy did not run. Instead, 10-year-old Elijah Carter looked directly into the millionaire's eyes and said 7 words that would change everything. "Sir, I can heal your wounds." Seconds. Vincent laughed so hard tears streamed down his face. He pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. Perfect. Heal my wounds for $2 million, street rat. When you fail, police take you to juvenile detention. Your miserable life ends tonight. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe to my channel and follow Elijah's journey to the very end. Comment below with the city you are watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled across the world. Elijah Carter had not eaten in 3 days. His stomach had stopped growling sometime around noon because even hunger gives up eventually. He was 10 years old, 52 pounds, and invisible to everyone who walked past him on the streets of Manhattan. That was the thing about being homeless and black and small. People looked right through you like you were made of glass, like you did not exist at all. But Elijah existed. He existed so hard it hurt. 9:15 on a Friday night in November. 48 degrees, the kind of cold that does not kill you right away but promises it will if you stay still long enough. Elijah had learned to keep moving. Movement meant survival. Movement meant warmth. Movement meant 1 more hour above ground. He had followed the smell for 9 blocks. Garlic and butter and something grilled. Steak, maybe. The kind of food that existed in a different universe from his. The kind of food that people threw away half-eaten because they were full. Full. Elijah could not remember what that word felt like in his body. The Grandview Terrace sat on top of a building in Midtown Manhattan. Rooftop restaurant. Rich people eating under string lights while heat lamps kept them comfortable. Elijah had found the service entrance on the side of the building. Unlocked. Nobody guarded the places where the invisible people came and went. He climbed 12 flights of stairs because the elevator required a key card. 12 flights on legs that shook. 12 flights on feet that bled from walking barefoot on November concrete. 12 flights because somewhere up there was food that someone would throw away. The service door opened onto the rooftop. Kitchen sounds, clanging pots, shouting chefs. The chaos of people preparing meals for other people who had never been hungry a day in their lives. Elijah slipped past the kitchen entrance and found what he was looking for. The recycling bin. Newspapers, bottles, and there, at the bottom, a stack of medical journals. Someone from a nearby clinic had cleaned out their office. Someone had thrown away knowledge like it was garbage. To Elijah, those journals were gold. He pulled them out with trembling hands. Journal of Experimental Wound Care. September 2024. The pages were coffee-stained and bent at the corners, but the words were clear. The diagrams were perfect. Elijah sat behind a large potted plant that separated the service area from the dining terrace. Through the leaves he could see everything. 12 tables, heat lamps glowing orange, string lights twinkling like stars that rich people bought because they could not see the real ones through city smog. He opened the journal and began to read. Advanced Wound Healing Protocol. Hyperoxygenation Pressure Point Therapy for Diabetic Ulcers. His eyes moved across the page once. That was all he needed. Elijah Carter had what the school counselor had called photographic memory. She had tested him when he was 7 years old back when he still went to school. Back when his mother was still alive. The counselor had shown him complicated images, long paragraphs, mathematical formulas. She had asked him to repeat what he saw. He repeated everything, word for word, number for number, line for line. The counselor had called his mother in for a special meeting. She had used words like extraordinary and gifted and once-in-a-generation potential. She had talked about special programs and scholarships and futures so bright they hurt to imagine. His mother had cried happy tears that day. She had held his face in her hands and said, "My brilliant boy, you are going to change the world." That was 3 years ago. 3 years ago before everything fell apart. His mother's name was Grace Carter. She had been 33 years old, beautiful in the tired way that single mothers who work double shifts become beautiful. She cleaned hotel rooms during the day and office buildings at night. 16 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep if she was lucky, 0 hours for herself. But she always had time for Elijah. Every night, no matter how exhausted she was, she would sit on the edge of his bed and read to him. Medical books, mostly. She had wanted to be a nurse before life got in the way, before Elijah's father disappeared, before bills piled up like snowdrifts that never melted. "You have the gift I never had, baby boy. She would say that every night. You remember everything. You understand everything. Promise me you will use it. Promise me you will become someone who helps people. I promise, Mama. That promise echoed in Elijah's head every single day. It echoed louder on the day she died. 11 months ago, a Tuesday in December. His mother had been complaining about a cut on her foot for 2 weeks. Small thing. She had stepped on broken glass while cleaning a hotel bathroom. The wound would not heal. It is probably nothing, she kept saying. I just need to keep it clean. But it was not nothing. The wound got bigger, redder, started to smell wrong. Grace Carter did not have health insurance. Grace Carter did not have money for doctors. Grace Carter had a son to feed and rent to pay and a body that was failing her one cell at a time. She finally went to the emergency room when she could not walk anymore. Elijah went with her, sat beside her in that plastic chair in the waiting room of Brooklyn General Hospital, watched her fill out forms with shaking hands, watched her explain to the receptionist that she did not have insurance, but she would pay whatever she could please, just let someone look at her foot. The receptionist barely looked up. Take a seat. We will call you when we can. They waited. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. His mother's face got paler. Her breathing got faster. Her hand in his got hotter, like fire was spreading through her body. Mama, you do not look good. I am fine, baby. Just tired. But she was not fine. Elijah could see it. Even at 9 years old, even without any medical training, he could see that something was very wrong. Someone please listen. His mother said those words to a passing nurse around hour 4. The nurse glanced at her clipboard, glanced at Grace, kept walking. Please. I think something is really wrong. A security guard told them to keep their voices down. Other patients were waiting too. Hour 5. Grace could barely keep her eyes open. Her skin had turned gray. Gray like old newspapers. Gray like concrete. Gray like death creeping in through the edges. Elijah ran to the receptionist desk. Please. My mama is really sick. Please, someone has to help her. Sir, you need to wait your turn. There are people ahead of you. But she is dying. Can you not see she is dying? The receptionist looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time. Saw a 9-year-old black boy in clothes that were too big and shoes that were falling apart. Saw poverty. Saw someone who did not matter. Security. They made him sit down. Hour 6. Grace Carter stopped talking. Her eyes were open, but she was not there anymore. Her hand in Elijah's was burning hot. Her breath came in short gasps that sounded like paper tearing. Finally, someone called her name. Grace Carter. The nurse looked around the waiting room. Grace Carter. Elijah shook his mother's shoulder. Mama? Mama, they called your name? Mama, wake up. She did not wake up. The next 3 days were a blur of white walls and beeping machines and doctors using words that Elijah did not understand but memorized anyway. Sepsis, systemic infection, multi-organ failure. We did everything we could. They did not do everything they could. They did nothing for 6 hours while his mother died in a plastic chair. $85 worth of antibiotics. That is what the doctor told him later. $85 of medicine in hour 1 or 2 would have saved her life. But no one listened. No one looked. No one cared about a poor black woman with no insurance, who said something was wrong. Grace Carter died on a Friday morning. Elijah was there, holding her hand, watching the monitors flatline. Her last words were not, I love you, or be strong, or anything like that. Her last words were, someone please listen. And then she was gone. After that, everything happened fast. Social workers, foster care interviews, a group home in the Bronx that smelled like mold and despair. Elijah ran away after 2 weeks. The older kids had stolen his mother's hospital bracelet, the only thing he had left of her. He fought 3 of them to get it back. Broke one kid's nose. Got it back. Ran. He had been on the streets ever since. 11 months of sleeping under the Brooklyn Bridge. 11 months of eating from garbage cans and begging for change and being invisible to everyone who walked past. But he had not wasted those 11 months. Every single day, Elijah went to NYU Langone Medical Center. Not inside. He could not get inside, but he could stand outside the windows. 4th floor, East Wing, where the residents did their rounds. He watched them examine patients, watched them discuss diagnoses, watched them perform procedures. He pressed his face against the cold glass and memorized everything he saw. At night, he hunted for medical journals, recycling bins behind hospitals, donation boxes outside clinics, library dumpsters when they cleared out old periodicals. 67 pages. That is how many he had collected. 67 pages of torn and stained medical knowledge that he kept in a Ziploc bag inside his jacket. He had memorized every single word. Now, sitting behind a potted plant on a rooftop in Manhattan, he added page 68 to his collection, Hyperoxygenation Pressure Point Therapy for Diabetic Ulcers. The article described a new protocol for treating wounds that were not responding to traditional care. 4 pressure points on each leg that controlled blood flow to the lower extremities. When pressed in the correct sequence with sustained force, these points triggered a release response. Blood vessels opened. Oxygen flooded damaged tissue. The body's natural healing process kicked into overdrive. The journal said the response was immediate. Visible improvement within seconds. Seconds. Elijah memorized the pressure point locations. Memorized the required force. Memorized the duration and sequence and expected results. Then he heard the commotion from the terrace. A man's voice sharp with pain. What the hell? What is happening? Elijah peered through the gap in the leaves. The center table. 8 people in expensive clothes, champagne bottles and silver buckets, and at the head of the table a man in a wheelchair who was gripping his legs like they were on fire. Vincent Blackwood. Elijah had heard one of the servers say the name earlier. The real estate guy. The one who owned half the buildings in Manhattan. The one whose legs were wrapped in medical bandages stained yellow and brown. Something is wrong. Vincent's voice was higher now, panicked. Marcus, something is wrong. The younger man beside him jumped up. Mr. Blackwood, what is it? What is happening? The pain. Vincent's face had gone white. The pain is spreading. It has never been this bad. Call Dr. Reeves. Call him now. Marcus fumbled for his phone. A woman across the table stood up. Patricia, someone called her. Vincent, should we call an ambulance? No. Vincent's voice was fierce despite the pain. No ambulances, no hospitals. I am not going back to Mount Sinai so they can tell me again that there is nothing they can do. His hands were shaking as he gripped the armrests of his wheelchair. 3 surgeons, 3 of the best surgeons in the country. They all said the same thing. The tissue is dying. The infection is spreading. Amputation in 30 days or death in 60. He laughed. A terrible sound with no humor in it. So no ambulances. If I am going to lose my legs, I am going to do it on my own terms, not in some hospital bed surrounded by machines. Marcus had his phone to his ear. Dr. Reeves is not answering, sir. It is going to voicemail. Of course it is. Vincent closed his eyes. Of course it is. Elijah watched through the leaves, watched the yellow stains on Vincent's bandages, watched the way he shifted his weight trying to find a position that hurt less. Watched a powerful man breaking apart in front of his friends. And he thought about his mother. Different lives. Different worlds. Different everything. But the same disease. The same wounds. The same doctors saying there was nothing they could do. Someone please listen. Elijah stood up. His legs were shaking. His heart was pounding so hard he could feel it in his ears. Everything in his survival brain screamed at him to stay hidden. Stay invisible. Stay safe. But his mother's voice was louder. You have the gift, baby boy. Promise me you will use it. Promise me you will become someone who helps people. I promise, Mama. Elijah stepped out from behind the plants. The cold hit him immediately. 48 degrees on bare feet that were already numb. His torn hoodie did nothing against the wind. He was small enough that the gusts nearly knocked him sideways. He walked toward the table. Marcus saw him first. The assistant's eyes went wide. A homeless child. Here. Now. On a rooftop terrace where a single appetizer cost more than most people made in a day. Security. Marcus's voice cut through the table's worried murmuring. There is a kid here. A homeless kid. Heads turned. 8 wealthy faces staring at Elijah like he was something that had crawled out of a sewer. Vincent Blackwood's head snapped up. For one moment their eyes met. 61-year-old millionaire. 10-year-old homeless child. 2 people from different universes suddenly occupying the same space. Then Vincent's face twisted. All the pain he was feeling, all the anger at his failing body, all the fear of losing his legs and his independence and his identity. It all came out in one explosive moment aimed at the easiest target. Get this filthy Blackstreet rat away from my table before he infects my wounds worse than they already are. The words hit Elijah like fists. Physical impact. He felt them in his chest, in his stomach, in the place where his mother's memory lived. 40 people at 12 tables turned to stare. Phones came out. Recording, capturing. But Elijah did not run. Sir, please. His voice came out small, but steady. I can help your wounds. I know what is wrong with you. I can fix it. Vincent's laugh was cruel. You can fix me, a street rat who cannot even help himself? Look at you. You are filthy. You are barefoot. You are nothing. What makes you think you can help me? He spat the last word like poison. Security was coming. Elijah could see the guard through the glass doors. Big man, uniform, maybe 10 seconds away. Your wounds are stage 3 diabetic ulcers with vascular compression. Elijah spoke faster now, medical terminology flowing like water. The tissue is dying because blood cannot reach it. Your muscles are constricting around the vessels. Oxygen cannot get through to the wound site, but I know how to release the compression. I know the pressure points. Vincent stared. The whole table stared. A woman at the next table leaned over. Did that child just diagnose him? Her companion shushed her. Vincent's eyes narrowed. How does a homeless black child know anything about diabetic ulcers and vascular compression? I read about them, sir. Medical journals. I find them in recycling bins and dumpsters. I found one tonight. In your recycling bin. 30 minutes ago. Elijah held up the torn pages. Vincent looked at the journal. Coffee stained. Water damaged. But clearly professional. Clearly real. Marcus stepped forward. Mr. Blackwood security is almost here. We should just let them remove this child and... Wait. Vincent held up his hand. The security guard was 5 feet away now. I said wait. The guard froze. Vincent leaned forward in his wheelchair, studying Elijah with an expression that was equal parts suspicion and curiosity. You found a medical journal in my recycling bin, and you expect me to believe you understood what you read. I have photographic memory, sir. I read something once and I remember it forever. Every word, every diagram, every protocol. Vincent's eyebrows rose. Prove it. Elijah did not hesitate. Quote, Advanced wound healing through hyperoxygenation pressure point therapy represents a paradigm shift in diabetic ulcer treatment. The protocol identifies 4 primary pressure points on each lower extremity that correspond to major vascular control centers. Point 1 is located 2 inches inferior to the greater trochanter on the lateral aspect. Point 2 is positioned at the intersection of the popliteal fossa and the lateral condyle. Point 3 corresponds to the gastrocnemius trigger zone 4 centimeters distal to the fibular head. Point 4 activates the tibialis anterior release mechanism at the junction of the middle and lower thirds of the leg. End quote. He took a breath. Journal of Experimental Wound Care. September 2024. Volume 12. Issue 3. Page 847. Authors Kim and Okonkwo. Stanford University Medical Center. Complete silence. Marcus's mouth was hanging open. Patricia had her hand pressed against her chest, and Vincent Blackwood was staring at Elijah like he had just watched a magic trick. A woman at another table stood up. She was maybe 50 years old. Professional clothing confident bearing. She walked over to Vincent's table. Excuse me, I am Dr. Helena Cross, vascular surgeon at Mount Sinai. She looked at Elijah. Did you just recite from the Kim and Okonkwo paper? Yes, ma'am. Dr. Cross turned to Vincent. Mr. Blackwood, I know that paper. It is real. It is peer-reviewed, and this child just quoted it word for word. The Kim Okonkwo protocol is cutting edge. Most practicing physicians have not even heard of it yet. She looked back at Elijah. How old are you? 10, ma'am? And you taught yourself medicine from recycling bins. Yes, ma'am. And hospital windows. I watched the residents do rounds at NYU Langone. 4th floor, east wing. Dr. Cross made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been disbelief. Vincent was still staring at Elijah. The pain in his legs was getting worse. Elijah could see it in the way his jaw tightened, the way sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. You say you can help my wounds. How long would this miracle take? Elijah's hands trembled around the journal pages. Seconds, sir. The journal says the response is immediate. If the tissue is not fully necrotic yet, visible improvement happens within seconds. The rooftop exploded with laughter. Not just Vincent's table, other tables too. 40 wealthy people laughing at a 52-pound child who claimed he could heal a millionaire in seconds. Dr. Cross was not laughing. Mr. Blackwood, her voice was careful. The Kim Okonkwo protocol is theoretical. It has shown promising results in clinical trials, but it is not standard practice. Letting a child attempt it would be what, doctor? Vincent cut her off. More risky than amputation. More dangerous than death. He gestured at his bandaged legs. I have 30 days before they cut these off. 30 days before I become half the man I used to be, and you are worried about risk. Dr. Cross said nothing. Vincent pulled out his phone, opened his banking app, turned the screen so everyone could see. $2 million. You want to play Dr. Street Rat? Fine, let us play. His thumb hovered over the transfer button. Heal my wounds. Right here. Right now. In your magical seconds. Show all these people what a homeless little black boy knows that Dr. Cross and 3 Mount Sinai surgeons do not know. His smile turned vicious. But here's the deal. When you fail, and you will fail, because you are making this up as you go, when you fail, security calls the police. They take you to juvenile detention. You get a record. Your life is over. He leaned forward. Do you understand what I'm offering you, boy? $2 million if you succeed. Prison if you fail. Those are the stakes. So think very carefully. He paused. Do you really want to try this? Elijah looked at the phone. $2 million. More money than his mother had earned in her entire life. He looked at Vincent's legs. Bandages stained yellow and brown. Tissue dying underneath. He looked at the security guard still waiting to grab him. He looked at Dr. Cross, who was watching with an expression that might have been hope or might have been horror. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a yellow plastic bracelet. Scratched. Faded. The text barely readable but burned into his memory forever. Grace Carter. D.O.B. March 3, 1991. Admitted December 14, 2024. Deceased December 17, 2024. This is my mother's hospital bracelet. His voice did not shake. She died 11 months ago, diabetic wound infection. She sat in an emergency room for 6 hours saying something is wrong. Please, someone listen. Nobody listened. Nobody looked. Nobody cared about a poor black woman with no insurance. He looked Vincent directly in the eyes. $85 of antibiotics would have saved her life. $85 in hour 1 or 2. But nobody listened until it was too late. The rooftop had gone silent. I have been teaching myself medicine ever since. Every day. Every night. Because I made a promise to her. I promised I would become someone who helps people. Someone who listens when nobody else will. He put the bracelet back in his pocket. You called me a street rat. You called me filthy and nothing and nobody. Maybe you are right. Maybe I am all of those things. His voice grew stronger. But I know what is wrong with your legs. I know how to help. And I am not going to walk away and let you die in a wheelchair just because you were mean to me. He took a breath. So yes, sir. I still want to try. Silence. Absolute, complete silence. Then Vincent Blackwood did something no one expected. He started to cry. Not loud sobs, just tears sliding down his face. Silent. Unstoppable. His hands were shaking when he spoke. What is your name? Elijah, sir? Elijah Carter? Elijah Carter? Vincent wiped his face with the back of his hand. My father was a janitor. Did you know that? 40 years cleaning floors at a hospital in Queens. Never made more than minimum wage. Never got a single break from anyone. He looked at his own legs. I built everything I have because I swore I would never be powerless like him. I would never be small. I would never be invisible. His laugh was bitter. And now look at me. 61 years old. $300 million. And I'm going to die in this chair because my own body is betraying me. He looked at Elijah. You remind me of him. My father. He used to read medical books, too. Used to watch the doctors through windows. Used to dream about being more than a janitor. Vincent's voice cracked. He died at 54. Heart attack. Never got to be anything but invisible. He wiped his face again. Maybe that is why I said those things to you. Maybe I looked at you and saw everything I have spent my whole life running from. He reached out his hand. I am sorry, Elijah. For what I said, for what I called you, I was wrong. Elijah looked at the outstretched hand. He did not take it. You can apologize after I fix your legs, sir. Vincent laughed. A real laugh this time. Surprised and genuine. Fair enough. He looked at Marcus. Get the boy whatever he needs. Marcus hesitated. Sir, are you sure about this? Dr. Cross said the protocol is experimental. If something goes wrong, something is already wrong, Marcus. Vincent's voice was firm. My legs are rotting. My future is amputation. This child is offering me a chance, however small, however crazy. I am taking it. He looked at Elijah. What do you need? I need to wash my hands. Then I need you to stay still while I work. And I need everyone to count with me, out loud. It helps track the time. Vincent nodded. There is a hand-washing station by the kitchen entrance. Elijah walked toward the service area. The crowd parted for him. 40 people stepping aside for a barefoot, homeless child like he was someone important. The water was warm when he turned it on. He had not felt warm water in months. The soap smelled like lemons. Clean. Professional. He washed his hands the way he had watched doctors wash their hands through hospital windows. Between every finger, under the nails, up to the wrists, 30 full seconds. When he walked back to Vincent's table, every eye on the rooftop was watching him. Dr. Cross stepped forward. "I want to observe, if you do not mind." Elijah nodded. He knelt beside Vincent's wheelchair. Even kneeling, he barely came up to the armrest. He looked impossibly small. 52 pounds of hope against 61 years of pain. "I need to see the wounds first." Vincent began unwrapping the bandages himself. The first layer came off easily. White gauze. The second layer was stained. Yellow and brown. The smell hit immediately. Patricia turned away. Someone at another table gagged. But Elijah did not flinch. The final layer peeled away. 2 ulcers on the right leg, one on the shin 3 inches wide, edges darkening, one near the ankle smaller but angrier, one massive ulcer on the left leg, 4 inches across, deep enough to see layers of tissue. The edges were gray, not black yet, but getting there. Dr. Cross sucked in a breath. Stage 3 with early necrotic borders. I have seen the Mount Sinai scans. 3 surgeons agreed on amputation. Elijah studied the wounds. The tissue is damaged but not dead. There is still blood flow. Limited but present. The edges are darkening because of vascular compression, not true necrosis. He pointed without touching. The muscles here and here are in constant spasm. They are strangling the blood vessels. Oxygen cannot reach the wound site. The body wants to heal, but it cannot get the resources it needs. Dr. Cross leaned closer. How can you tell the difference between compression and necrosis? Color gradient. True necrosis is uniform. This has variation. Darker at edges, lighter toward center. That means blood is getting through, just not enough. Also, the wound bed is still producing exudate. Dead tissue does not produce fluid. Dr. Cross was staring at him. That is a 4th-year medical student observation. At minimum. Elijah did not respond. He was positioning his hands on the first pressure point. When I press count with me. Everyone. Out loud. He looked at Vincent. It is going to hurt. A lot. Do not move. Do not fight me. Just count. Vincent's knuckles were white on the armrests. Do it. 1. Elijah pressed 8 pounds of force. Everything his small body could generate. Both thumbs driving into the trigger point 2 inches below the hip. Vincent's scream was immediate. 2. 40 voices counting together, a chorus of numbers rising into the cold November air. 3. Elijah could feel the muscle under his thumbs. Dense, hard, like pressing against stone. 4. 5. Vincent's breathing was ragged. Sweat poured down his face. 6. 7. Elijah shifted to the second pressure point. Behind the knee. Did not release pressure on the first. 8. 9. Vincent made a sound that was not quite human. Something between a scream and a prayer. 10. 11. Dr. Cross was watching the wounds. Her eyes were wide. The color. She whispered, "The color is changing." 12. 13. Elijah moved to the third point. Calf muscle. 14. 15. Something shifted under his thumbs, the stone becoming clay, the tension releasing. 16. A sound, audible, clear, like cracking knuckles but deeper. 17. Vincent's whole body jerked. Oh God, something is happening. 18. Elijah pressed the fourth point. Ankle. 19. And then everyone saw it. The wounds. The massive ulcers that had been gray and dark on dying. They were turning pink. Blood rushing back. Oxygen flooding tissue that had been starving. Life returning to flesh that had been dying. 20. Elijah released the pressure, stepped back, collapsed onto his heels, arms shaking, whole body trembling. The wounds are not healed. His voice was barely a whisper. They still need proper medical care, but the compression is released. Blood is flowing. Your body can heal itself now. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Vincent Blackwood was staring at his legs like he was watching a miracle. The pain. His voice cracked. The burning that has been there for 6 months. It is less. It is actually less. Dr. Cross dropped to her knees beside the wheelchair. Her hands were shaking as she examined the wounds. Capillary refill is returning. The necrotic borders are stabilizing. The tissue is. She looked up at Elijah. This is impossible. This should not be possible. Vincent tried to move his toes. They moved. He tried to flex his ankle. It responded. He had not been able to do either of those things in 3 weeks. The rooftop exploded. Screaming, crying. People jumping out of chairs, phones recording from every angle. He did it, someone was shouting. The kid actually did it. Did you see that? The wounds changed color. I watched them change color. Someone call the news. Call everyone. But Elijah was not listening to the chaos. He was looking at Vincent Blackwood. The millionaire was crying. Really crying. Sobs shaking his whole body. He reached out and pulled Elijah into his arms. A 61-year-old man in an $18,000 wheelchair holding a homeless child who smelled like the street weeping into his torn hoodie. You saved me. The words came out broken. I called you a street rat. I called you nothing. And you saved me anyway. His arms tightened. Why? After what I said. After how I treated you. Why did you help me? Elijah's voice was muffled against Vincent's chest. Because my mama's last words were, "Someone please listen," and I promised her I would be someone who listens. He pulled back, looked at Vincent through his own tears. Even when people are mean, even when they call me names, I will always listen. Because nobody listened to her. Vincent Blackwood had not cried in front of another person in 40 years. He cried now. He held a 10-year-old boy who had saved his legs with knowledge from a trash can. And for the first time in his life, he understood that all his money, all his power, all his buildings and deals and success meant absolutely nothing compared to a child who had chosen kindness over revenge. Dr. Cross stood up slowly. Her face was wet with tears she had not noticed falling. Mr. Blackwood, her voice was unsteady, I have been a surgeon for 25 years. I have seen thousands of patients. I have performed hundreds of procedures. She looked at Elijah. I have never seen anything like what I just witnessed. That child just executed a protocol that most medical professionals do not even know exists. He diagnosed vascular compression that 3 Mount Sinai surgeons missed. He did in 20 seconds what we could not do in 6 weeks. She shook her head. I do not know what he is, but he is not nothing. He is not nobody. She crouched down to Elijah's level. He might be the most extraordinary person I have ever met. Elijah looked at her, small, exhausted, still shaking from effort. I'm just a kid who reads a lot. Dr. Cross laughed. A wet sound mixed with tears. No, sweetheart. You are a lot more than that. Vincent still had not let go of Elijah. His phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then started buzzing continuously. Marcus picked it up, looked at the screen. Sir? The video. It is everywhere. What video? The video of what just happened. Someone posted it. It has 3 million views already. CNN picked it up. It is on every news site in the country. Vincent did not care. He was still holding Elijah, still crying, still trying to understand how a homeless child had given him back his legs and his hope and his humanity in 20 seconds. I owe you everything. He finally released Elijah, held him at arm's length. Not just money, everything. Whatever you need, whatever you want, for the rest of your life. Elijah looked at him, tired, hungry, cold, but something else too. Something that looked like hope. Can I have something to eat first? His voice was so small. I have not eaten in 3 days. Vincent's face crumbled. Oh, God. He turned to the nearest server. Bring him everything. Every single thing on the menu. Now. Then he pulled Elijah back into his arms and held him, while 40 people watched. A millionaire and a homeless child. 2 people who should never have met. Brought together by wounds and words and a promise made to a dying mother. The server returned with plates of food. Steak, pasta, bread, vegetables, desserts. More food than Elijah had seen in 11 months. He ate with his hands. Too hungry for utensils. Too desperate to care about manners. Vincent watched him eat, and something changed behind his eyes. Something that looked like a decision. Something that looked like purpose. Something that looked like a man who had finally found something worth more than all his money. Elijah did not know it yet, but his life was about to change forever. And so was Vincent Blackwood's. Because some miracles only take 20 seconds. But the ripples last a lifetime. Elijah finished the last piece of steak and looked up at Vincent with eyes that were still not quite believing any of this was real. His stomach hurt from eating too fast after 3 days of nothing, but the pain felt good. The pain felt like being alive. Vincent had not stopped watching him eat. Had not stopped crying either. Silent tears that kept falling no matter how many times he wiped them away. 9:47. 32 minutes since Elijah had healed Vincent's wounds. The rooftop had not calmed down. If anything, the chaos had gotten worse. More news vans in the parking lot below. More phones recording. More people crowding against the terrace railing, trying to get a glimpse of the homeless boy who had performed a miracle. Marcus was fielding calls non-stop. His phone had not stopped buzzing since the video went viral. Sir CNN wants an exclusive interview. So does Fox. NBC is offering 6 figures for first comments. The Today Show wants you both tomorrow morning. Vincent did not look at Marcus. He was still looking at Elijah. Tell them all, no. Marcus blinked. Sir, the exposure alone would be worth... I said no. Vincent's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. This child just saved my legs. He has not slept in a real bed in 11 months. He has not had a bath or clean clothes or a single moment of safety. And you want me to parade him in front of cameras like some kind of circus act? No, sir. I just thought you thought wrong. Vincent finally looked away from Elijah to stare at his assistant. Cancel everything on my schedule for the next week. All of it. The merger meetings, the investor calls, the board presentation. Everything. Marcus's face went pale. Sir, the Thornton deal closes in 4 days. If you are not there, then it does not close. Vincent's voice left no room for argument. I have spent 40 years chasing deals, chasing money, chasing power. And where did it get me? Dying in a wheelchair while a 10-year-old homeless child saves my life with knowledge he learned from garbage. He shook his head. I am done chasing. For once in my miserable life, I am going to do something that actually matters. He looked back at Elijah. Starting with you. Elijah had stopped eating. He was watching Vincent with an expression that was equal parts confusion and fear. What do you mean, starting with me? I mean, everything changes tonight. Vincent pulled out his phone. What is your situation, Elijah? Legally. Do you have family? Foster care. Anyone looking for you? Elijah's face closed off. No, sir. My mama was all I had. After she died, they put me in a group home. I ran away. Why did you run away? Because the older kids stole my mama's hospital bracelet, the only thing I had left of her. I got it back, but I had to fight them. Broke one kid's nose. They were going to send me to juvenile detention for assault. Vincent's jaw tightened. So you have been on the streets for 11 months. No school, no shelter, no one looking out for you. No, sir. And in those 11 months, you taught yourself medicine from recycling bins and hospital windows. Yes, sir. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he started making calls. Robert. Vincent Blackwood. I need you to wake up and listen carefully. He put the phone on speaker so Elijah could hear. A groggy voice answered. Vincent, it is almost 10 o'clock at night. What could possibly... I am enrolling a student at Dalton on Monday morning. 10 years old. His name is Elijah Carter. Full scholarship. Everything covered. Tuition, books, uniforms, meals, activities. Everything. The voice on the other end was suddenly wide awake. Vincent Dalton has a waiting list 3 years long. We cannot just you can and you will. Vincent's voice was ice. I have donated $14 million to that school over the past decade. I funded your new science building. I paid for your scholarship program. And I have never asked for a single thing in return. He paused. I am asking now. Silence on the other end. Then a long exhale. Monday morning, 8 o'clock. I will handle the paperwork personally. Thank you, Robert. Vincent hung up without waiting for a response. Elijah was staring at him. What is Dalton? One of the best private schools in the country. You start Monday, but I do not have any clothes, or books, or you will have everything you need. Vincent was already dialing another number. Jennifer. Vincent Blackwood. I need the penthouse apartment at my 72nd Street building furnished and ready tonight. Yes, tonight. Everything a 10-year-old boy would need. Bedroom furniture, clothes in multiple sizes, food in the refrigerator, books, a computer, everything. Make it a home. Not an apartment. A home. Bill me whatever it costs. Just get it done. He hung up, dialed again. Arthur. I need an education trust drafted first thing Monday morning. $5 million principal. Beneficiary Elijah Carter. Covering all expenses through completion of medical school. Undergraduate medical school residency, everything. I want it ironclad. I want it untouchable. I want this boy's future guaranteed no matter what happens to me. He hung up, looked at Elijah. The boy's face was wet with tears he had not noticed falling. Why are you doing this? His voice was barely a whisper. You do not even know me. An hour ago, you wanted me arrested. Vincent reached out and took Elijah's small hands in his. An hour ago, I was a fool. A cruel, arrogant fool who looked at you and saw everything I was afraid of. Poverty, powerlessness, being invisible. His grip tightened. But you are not invisible, Elijah. You are the most visible person I have ever met. You walked onto this terrace with nothing but torn clothes and a Ziploc bag full of journal pages, and you changed my entire life." He shook his head. "I have $300 million. I have buildings all over Manhattan. I have more power than most people can imagine, and none of it means anything compared to what you did for me tonight." His voice cracked. "You gave me back my legs. You gave me back my future. And you did it even after I called you every terrible name I could think of." He looked into Elijah's eyes. "That is not nothing. That is everything. And I am going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know it." 10:15. The rooftop had finally started to clear. Most of the other diners had gone home, though not before taking pictures and videos and sharing their contact information in case anyone wanted witness statements. Dr. Cross had stayed. She was sitting across from Vincent and Elijah, watching the boy with an expression that had not changed in the past 30 minutes. Fascination mixed with something that looked almost like reverence. "Mr. Blackwood, I have a proposal." Vincent looked at her. "I am listening." "If you are funding Elijah's education fund, a clinic as well. NYU Langone and Blackwood Properties working together. A wound care clinic for the homeless and uninsured. People who cannot afford to wait 6 hours in an emergency room. People like Elijah's mother." She leaned forward. "We could call it the Grace Carter Wound Care Center. Staff it with residents and attending physicians who actually listen. Use the same rapid diagnosis protocols that Elijah demonstrated tonight." Vincent did not hesitate. "How much for first-year operations?" $500,000 would cover adequate staffing, space, rental equipment, and supplies. "Done." Vincent pulled out his phone again. "Marcus, I want a wire transfer ready for Monday morning. $500,000 to NYU Langone Medical Center, designated for establishment of the Grace Carter Wound Care Center." Marcus's voice came through the phone speaker. "Sir, that is a significant amount without proper due diligence." And Marcus, "Yes, sir. Shut up and do it. Yes, sir." Vincent hung up, looked at Elijah. The boy was crying again, harder this time. "You are naming it after my mama. She deserved better than she got." Vincent's voice was rough. "She deserved someone to listen. She deserved $85 worth of antibiotics. She deserved to see her son grow up and become the doctor he is going to become." He reached out and wiped Elijah's tears with his thumb. "I cannot give her any of that, but I can make sure her name means something. I can make sure no one else's mother dies in a waiting room because nobody would listen." Elijah threw his arms around Vincent's neck and sobbed into his shoulder. Vincent held him. 61 years old, $300 million, more power than most people could imagine, and he had never felt more human than he did right now holding a crying child on a rooftop in Manhattan. 10:43. A woman pushed through the remaining crowd on the terrace. Professional clothing, confident stride, badge hanging from a lanyard around her neck. "Mr. Blackwood, I am Detective Sarah Mitchell, NYPD. I need to speak with you about the child." Vincent's arms tightened around Elijah. "What about him?" "We received a report about a homeless minor at this location. Child Protective Services has been notified. They are sending someone to take custody." "No." The word came out like a gunshot. "Excuse me." Detective Mitchell's eyebrows rose. "I said no. No one is taking this child anywhere." "Mr. Blackwood, I understand you had a positive interaction tonight, but there are procedures. The child is a minor without a guardian. He has to be placed in state custody until what?" Vincent stood up. Even with his legs still weak, he was an imposing figure. "Until they put him in another group home where he gets beaten up and has his belongings stolen. Until they send him to juvenile detention for defending himself. Until the system chews him up and spits him out just like it does to every other kid who has the bad luck to be poor and black and alone." His voice was rising. "I know what happens to children in that system, Detective. I have seen the statistics. I have read the reports, and I will be damned if I let it happen to this boy." Detective Mitchell's face was unreadable. "Mr. Blackwood, I sympathize with your position, but the law is clear. Without a legal guardian, then I will become his legal guardian." The words hung in the air. Elijah's head snapped up. "What?" Vincent looked at him. "I am going to adopt you, Elijah, if you will let me. I am going to become your father and give you the life you deserve." Elijah could not breathe. "You want to adopt me. I want to give you a family, a home, a future that does not depend on recycling bins and hospital windows." Vincent knelt down so they were eye to eye. "I know I am not your mother. I know I can never replace her. But I can be there for you. I can protect you. I can make sure you never have to sleep under a bridge again." His voice broke. "I have spent my whole life building an empire. Buildings and deals and money piling up higher and higher. And I never had anyone to leave it to. Never had anyone who mattered more than the next acquisition. He took Elijah's hands. You matter, Elijah. You matter more than everything I own. And if you will let me, I want to spend the rest of my life proving it to you. Elijah was shaking. You really mean it. I have never meant anything more in my entire life. Detective Mitchell cleared her throat. Mr. Blackwood, adoption is a lengthy process. Background checks, home studies, court appearances. It could take months, possibly over a year. Then we start tonight. Vincent stood up, pulling out his phone. Arthur, wake up again. I need you to begin adoption proceedings immediately. Elijah Carter, 10 years old. I want to file for emergency custody Monday morning. I want this expedited through every possible channel. I do not care what it costs. I do not care whose strings we have to pull. I want this boy legally protected by the end of the week. He paused, listening. Yes, I know it is unusual. Yes, I know there will be scrutiny. And yes, I am absolutely certain. He hung up, looked at Detective Mitchell. You wanted procedures, Detective. There are your procedures. Emergency custody filing Monday morning. Full adoption proceedings to follow. In the meantime, this child stays with me. Detective Mitchell studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. I will need to see the apartment where he will be staying. Verify it is suitable. Of course, we are heading there now. She looked at Elijah. Son, is this what you want? Do you want to stay with Mr. Blackwood? Elijah looked at Vincent, looked at the man who had called him a street rat an hour ago and was now offering to become his father. He thought about his mother, about the promise he had made to her. You are going to change the world, baby boy. Maybe this was how it started. Maybe this was what change looked like. Yes, ma'am, I want to stay with him. Detective Mitchell nodded. Then let us go see this apartment. 1122. The apartment was on the 34th floor of a building that Vincent owned on 72nd Street. Elijah had never been in an elevator that went that high, had never seen a hallway with carpet this thick, or walls with art that probably cost more than his mother had made in a decade. The door to apartment 34B opened, and Elijah stopped breathing. It was not an apartment, it was a palace. Living room with furniture that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Kitchen with appliances that gleamed under soft lighting. A refrigerator that hummed quietly full of food that someone had rushed to stock in the past 90 minutes. And a bedroom. A real bedroom with a real bed and real sheets and real pillows and a closet full of clothes in different sizes because no one knew what would fit. Elijah walked through the apartment like he was walking through a dream. His bare feet left faint prints on the pristine carpet. He stopped in front of the bedroom window, 34 floors up. The city spread out below him like a universe of lights. 11 months ago, he had been looking up at buildings like this one, wondering what it would be like to live inside instead of underneath. Now he was here, and he did not know how to feel. Elijah. Vincent's voice was soft behind him. Is something wrong? Elijah did not turn around. It is too much. What do you mean? All of this, the apartment, the school, the adoption, the clinic named after my mama, it is too much. I do not deserve any of it. Vincent walked over and stood beside him at the window. Why do you think you do not deserve it? Because I did not do anything special. Elijah's voice cracked. I just read a journal article and pushed on some pressure points. Anyone could have done it. Anyone with the right information. But they did not. Vincent's voice was firm. 3 surgeons at Mount Sinai had more information than you will ever find in a recycling bin. They had degrees and training and millions of dollars worth of equipment. And they could not do what you did. He put his hand on Elijah's shoulder. You did not just read an article, Elijah. You saw me. You saw past the wheelchair and the bandages and the cruel words I was throwing at you. You saw a person in pain who needed help. His grip tightened. And you helped, even though I did not deserve it. Even though I had done nothing but insult you and threaten you and treat you like garbage. You helped anyway. He turned Elijah to face him. That is what makes you special. Not your memory. Not your medical knowledge. Your heart. Your heart is what saved me tonight. Elijah's tears were falling again. My mama used to say that. She used to say I had a good heart. She was right. Vincent pulled him into a hug. She was absolutely right. They stood there for a long moment. The city lights twinkling below. The apartment silent except for the soft hum of expensive appliances. Detective Mitchell had finished her inspection. She appeared in the doorway of the bedroom. Mr. Blackwood, everything appears to be in order. I will file my report recommending temporary placement pending formal custody proceedings. Thank you, Detective. She looked at Elijah. Son, you have my card. If you ever need anything, if anything feels wrong, you call me directly. Understand? Yes, ma'am. She nodded once and left. The door clicked shut behind her, and suddenly it was just Vincent and Elijah, alone in an apartment that still smelled like new furniture and fresh paint. Vincent cleared his throat. There is a bathroom through that door, hot water, clean towels, soap that does not smell like industrial cleaner. He smiled. When was the last time you had a real bath? Elijah thought about it. 11 months. The group home had showers, but they were always cold, and the other kids would steal your clothes if you were not fast enough. Vincent's face tightened. Take as long as you want. Use all the hot water. I will be in the living room if you need anything. He turned to leave. Mr. Blackwood? Vincent stopped. Thank you. Elijah's voice was barely above a whisper. For everything. For believing me when no one else would have. For seeing me when everyone else looked right through me. He paused. My mama always said that being seen was the greatest gift anyone could give. She said invisible people do not just want food or money. They want someone to look at them and say, you exist, you matter, you are real. His voice cracked. You did that for me tonight, even before you knew I could help you. Even when you were calling me names, part of you saw me. That is why you let me try. Vincent was very still. I think you are giving me too much credit. I think you are not giving yourself enough. Elijah smiled. The first real smile that he had smiled in 11 months. My mama also said that mean people are usually just scared people. People who are hurting so bad they do not know how to do anything but hurt others. He looked at Vincent. You were hurting tonight, scared of losing your legs, scared of becoming powerless, so you lashed out at the first easy target you could find. His smile faded. But you stopped. When I told you about my mama, you stopped. You listened. You changed. He took a breath. That is not nothing, Mr. Blackwood. That is everything. Vincent could not speak. He just stood there, tears streaming down his face, completely undone by a 10-year-old boy's grace. Elijah walked past him toward the bathroom. I am going to take that bath now, the hot water one. He paused at the door. And Mr. Blackwood? Yes. If you are going to be my father, you should probably start calling me son. The bathroom door closed. Vincent stood alone in the apartment that had been empty 2 hours ago and was now full of something he had never expected to find. Hope. 12:15 in the morning. Elijah had been in the bath for almost 45 minutes. The water was still hot. He had figured out how to add more without getting out a luxury he had not known existed. His skin was pink and clean for the first time in 11 months. The dirt and grime of street life swirling down the drain, the smell of survival washing away. He looked at his hands. Small hands, rough from concrete and cold, but strong. Strong enough to save a man's legs tonight. His mother's voice echoed in his head. You have the gift, baby boy. Promise me you will use it. I did, Mama. I used it tonight. He wondered if she could see him somehow, if she was watching from wherever mothers go when they leave too soon. He hoped she was proud. A knock on the bathroom door. Elijah, there is someone here to see you. Vincent's voice sounded strange, tight. Elijah got out of the bath, dried off with a towel softer than anything he had ever felt, and put on the pajamas that someone had laid out for him. They fit perfectly. Someone had guessed his size exactly right. He opened the bathroom door. Vincent was standing in the hallway. His face was pale. Who was here? Come see. Elijah followed Vincent to the living room. A woman was standing by the window, maybe 50 years old. Professional clothing, hair pulled back tight. She turned when she heard them enter. Elijah stopped cold. He knew that face. He had seen it on the news. In magazines, on the sides of buses advertising her law firm. Veronica Hayes, the most famous civil rights attorney in the country. Mr. Carter, her voice was exactly like it sounded on television. Strong, clear, commanding. My name is Veronica Hayes. I represent children who have been failed by the systems designed to protect them. She walked toward him. I saw the video tonight. All 12 million views of it. I saw what you did for Mr. Blackwood. I saw what he said to you before you did it. Her eyes were fierce. And I saw something else. I saw a child who should have been protected by his country. A child who should have been in school, in a home, in a family. Instead, you were sleeping under a bridge, teaching yourself medicine from garbage, watching through hospital windows because no one would let you through the doors. She stopped in front of him. That ends tonight. Elijah did not understand. What ends? The system that failed you. The system that killed your mother? The system that let a 9-year-old boy slip through the cracks and disappear for 11 months while no one looked for him. Her voice hardened. I am going to sue them all. The group home that let those boys assault you, the foster care agency that lost track of you, the hospital that let your mother die in a waiting room. Every single institution that should have protected you and did not." She looked at Vincent. "Mr. Blackwood has agreed to fund the litigation. We are going to make sure what happened to you never happens to another child again." Elijah's head was spinning. "I do not want to sue anyone. I just want to go to school. I just want to be a doctor someday." "You will be." Veronica's voice softened. "But you will also be something else. A symbol. A reminder to every hospital, every foster care agency, every group home in this country that invisible children are watching, that invisible children are remembering, that invisible children will hold them accountable." She knelt down so she was at his eye level. "Your mother died because no one listened. You almost died because no one looked. But 12 million people are listening now, Elijah. 12 million people are looking." She took his hands. "Let them see everything. Let them see what happens when we fail our children. Let them see what those children can become when someone finally gives them a chance." Elijah looked at Vincent. The man nodded slowly. "It is your choice, son. Whatever you decide, I will support you." Elijah looked back at Veronica, thought about his mother in that waiting room, thought about the 6 hours of pleas and someone listen and nobody caring, thought about all the other mothers in all the other waiting rooms who were dying right now while he stood in a penthouse apartment with clean skin and soft pajamas. "Okay." His voice was small but steady. "I will do it. For my mama, for everyone like her." Veronica Hayes smiled. "Good." She stood up. "We start Monday, after your first day of school." She headed for the door. "Get some sleep, Elijah. Tomorrow the real work begins." The door closed behind her. Vincent let out a breath he had been holding. "That woman terrifies half the judges in New York." Elijah almost smiled. "She did not terrify me." "No." Vincent looked at him with something like wonder. "No, I do not suppose she did. 1:15 in the morning." Elijah lay in the bed that was too big for him. Clean sheets, soft pillow, the distant hum of the city 34 floors below. He should have been asleep. His body was exhausted. His mind was exhausted. Everything about him was running on empty, but he could not close his eye. Every time he did, he saw his mother's face, heard her voice. "Someone please listen." He reached over to the nightstand and picked up the yellow hospital bracelet. Grace Carter. December 17th, 2024. 11 months ago, she had been alive. 11 months ago, he had been a regular kid with a mother and a home and a future. Now he was lying in a millionaire's apartment with adoption papers being drafted and lawsuits being filed and 12 million people who knew his name. It was too much. It was all too much. The door to his bedroom opened slowly. "Elijah." Vincent's voice was soft. "I saw your light was still on. Is everything okay?" Elijah did not answer. Vincent walked over and sat on the edge of the bed. "You are thinking about her." It was not a question. I keep hearing her voice. Elijah's words came out broken. She kept saying, "Someone please listen," over and over, for 6 hours. And I just sat there holding her hand, and I could not do anything. I could not make anyone listen. His whole body was shaking. What if I had known then what I know now? What if I had read that journal article 11 months ago? Could I have saved her? Could I have done something? Oh, Elijah. Vincent pulled him into his arm. "You were 9 years old. You could not have saved her. No one could have saved her in that waiting room because no one would look at her long enough to try." He held Elijah tight. "It is not your fault. None of it is your fault. You did everything a 9-year-old boy could possibly do, but it was not enough." "No." Vincent's voice was raw. "It was not enough, and that is not your failure. That is the failure of every single adult in that hospital who was supposed to help her and did not." He pulled back and looked at Elijah's face. "You cannot save everyone. You cannot go back in time and fix what was broken, but you can save the people in front of you. You can do what you did tonight again and again for the rest of your life." He wiped the tears from Elijah's cheeks. "Your mother knew that. She knew you had a gift. She knew you would use it to help people. That is why her last words were, 'Someone please listen.' She was not just talking about herself." His voice cracked. "She was talking about you. She was telling the world to listen to you, to see you, to let you become what she always knew you could be." Elijah's sobs came harder. "I miss her so much." "I know, son." Vincent held him. "I know you do, and you will miss her for the rest of your life. That is what love does. It stays even when the person is gone." He rocked Elijah gently. "But she is not completely gone. She is in you, in your memory, in your gift, in every person you save with the knowledge she encouraged you to seek." He looked at the hospital bracelet still clutched in Elijah's hand. And now she is in that clinic too. The Grace Carter Wound Care Center. Her name on a building that will save thousands of lives. He smiled through his own tears. She is going to be famous, Elijah. Your mother is going to be famous for helping people she never even met. And it is all because of you. Elijah looked at the bracelet, at the faded text, at the last piece of his mother that he had fought 3 boys to keep. She would have liked that. His voice was steadier now. She always said she wanted to be a nurse, to help people. Life just got in the way. Vincent nodded. Life gets in the way of a lot of things, but sometimes if we are lucky, we get a chance to fix what life broke. He stood up. Get some sleep, son. You have a big day tomorrow, and a bigger life ahead of you. He walked to the door. Mr. Blackwood? Yes. Elijah hesitated. Can I call you something else? Something besides Mr. Blackwood? Vincent's face softened. What would you like to call me? Elijah thought about it. I do not know yet. Father feels too soon. Dad feels like a word I never got to use within one. He paused. Can I just call you Vincent for now, until I figure out what fits? Vincent smiled. You can call me anything you want, Elijah. I will answer to all of it. The door closed softly. Elijah lay back on his pillow. The hospital bracelet pressed against his chest. The city humming 34 floors below. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in 11 months, he fell asleep without being afraid. 6:45 in the morning. Saturday. Elijah woke up to sunlight streaming through windows that did not have bars on them. For a long moment, he did not know where he was. Then he remembered. The rooftop, the wounds, the pressure points, the millionaire who had called him a street rat and then offered to become his father. He sat up slowly. The bedroom looked different in daylight. Bigger, cleaner, more real. There was a knock on the door. Elijah. Breakfast is ready when you are. Vincent's voice. Elijah got out of bed. His feet touched carpet instead of concrete. His body felt clean instead of grimy. His stomach growled at the mention of food, but it was a different kind of growl. A hungry growl instead of a desperate one. He walked out to the kitchen. Vincent was standing at the stove. Actually standing, on his own 2 legs, cooking eggs and bacon like he had been doing it his whole life. You can cook. Elijah's surprise was obvious. Vincent laughed. I could cook before I could afford to hire people to do it for me. My father taught me. Said a man who could not feed himself was not really a man at all. He slid a plate across the counter. Eat. We have a busy day. Elijah climbed onto a stool and started eating. The eggs were perfect. The bacon was crispy. Everything tasted like a dream he was afraid to wake up from. Vincent sat down across from him. I have been up since 5, making arrangements. Arrangements for what? For you? For us? For everything that comes next. He pulled out a folder. Dalton confirmed for Monday. Arthur has the custody paperwork ready for emergency filing. Jennifer is sending over more clothes this afternoon, so you have options. Dr. Cross wants to see you at the hospital at 3 to run some tests. Tests. Elijah's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Not medical tests, academic tests. She wants to assess your knowledge level so she can design a proper curriculum for you. She is going to teach me. She wants to. And so do half the other doctors at NYU Langone, after word spread about what you did last night. Vincent smiled. You are famous, Elijah, whether you wanted to be or not. And a lot of people want to be part of your story now. Elijah put down his fork. I do not want to be famous. I know. Vincent's voice was gentle. But sometimes, fame chooses us whether we want it or not. The question is what we do with it. He leaned forward. You can let fame use you. Let it turn you into a circus act, a feel-good story people share and forget. Or you can use fame. Turn it into a platform, a megaphone, a way to make sure no one ever ignores invisible children again. He paused. Which do you want? Elijah thought about it. I want my mama to be proud of me. Then use it. Vincent's voice was firm. Use every camera, every interview, every moment of attention to tell her story, to tell your story, to tell the story of every mother who died in a waiting room and every child who slept under a bridge because the system that was supposed to protect them failed. His eyes were fierce. Make them listen, Elijah, not because you want attention, because they need to hear what you have to say. Elijah looked at the man across from him. The The man who had been his enemy 12 hours ago. The man who was becoming something else entirely. Okay? His voice was steady. I will use it. For my mama. For kids like me. For everyone who never got a chance to be heard. Vincent nodded. Good. He stood up. Now finish your breakfast. We have a hospital to visit and a future to build. And Elijah ate his eggs while the Saturday morning sun streamed through the windows of his new home. His mother's bracelet was in his pocket. Her voice was in his heart. And her legacy was just beginning. 2:45 in the afternoon. Saturday. The black SUV pulled up to the entrance of NYU Langone Medical Center, and Elijah felt his chest tighten. This was the hospital where he had spent hundreds of hours pressed against windows. The hospital where he had taught himself medicine from the outside looking in. Now he was walking through the front doors like he belonged there. Vincent walked beside him, still moving carefully on legs that had been dying 24 hours ago, but moving, standing, alive. Dr. Cross met them in the lobby. Mr. Blackwood, Elijah, thank you for coming. She looked different than she had on the rooftop. Less formal, more excited, like a scientist who had discovered something she could not wait to study. I have assembled a small team to assess Elijah's knowledge base, if you will follow me. They walked through corridors that Elijah had only seen through glass, past rooms where patients lay in beds he had watched from outside, past doctors and nurses who did not know they were passing the boy who had memorized their every movement for 11 months. One of the nurses stopped suddenly. Wait, I know you. Elijah froze. The nurse was maybe 30 years old, dark hair, tired eyes. She was staring at Elijah like she had seen a ghost. You are the window kid. Oh my God, you are the window kid. I have seen you outside the 4th floor windows at night for months. I always wondered who you were. She looked at Dr. Cross. Is this the boy from the video, the one who healed the millionaire? Dr. Cross nodded. This is Elijah Carter. He is going to be working with us. The nurse's eyes filled with tears. I used to worry about you, standing out there in the cold. I wanted to bring you inside, but security said we could not just let random children into the hospital. She knelt down so she was at his level. I am so sorry. I should have done more. I should have found a way. Elijah shook his head. It is okay. You saw me. That is more than most people did. The nurse hugged him. A stranger hugging him in the middle of a hospital corridor. And somehow, it did not feel strange at all. Dr. Cross led them to a conference room on the 6th floor. 4 other doctors were already waiting. 3 men and 1 woman. All wearing white coats. All looking at Elijah like he was a specimen under a microscope. Elijah, these are my colleagues. Dr. Reynolds, neurology. Dr. Patel, cardiology. Dr. Morrison, emergency medicine. And Dr. Yamamoto, pediatrics. Each doctor nodded as their name was called. We have prepared some questions and scenarios to assess your medical knowledge. This is not a test you can fail. We simply want to understand what you know and how you think. Dr. Cross gestured to a chair. Please sit, take your time, and remember there are no wrong answers here. Elijah sat. The chair was too big for him. His feet did not touch the floor. Vincent stood by the door, arms crossed, watching like a guard dog ready to attack anyone who heard his charge. Dr. Reynolds spoke first. Elijah, I understand you have photographic memory. Can you tell me what that means to you? Elijah thought about it. It means I remember everything I see. Words, pictures, diagrams. I read something once and it stays in my head forever. Like taking a photograph with my brain. And how long have you been aware of this ability? Since I was little, my mama noticed first. She would read me stories and I could repeat them back word for word the next day. She took me to the school counselor when I was 7. They did tests. What kind of tests? They showed me paragraphs and asked me to repeat them. They showed me numbers and asked me to write them down. They showed me pictures and asked me to describe what I saw. How did you perform? Elijah shrugged. They said I got everything right. They used words like extraordinary and gifted. They wanted to put me in special programs. Dr. Reynolds made a note. Dr. Patel leaned forward. Elijah, I'm going to describe a scenario. I want you to tell me what you think is happening and what you would do about it. Okay. A 52-year-old man comes to the emergency room complaining of chest pain that radiates to his left arm. He is sweating heavily. His skin is pale and clammy. He says the pain started about an hour ago and has been getting worse. What are you thinking? Elijah did not hesitate. Classic presentation of acute myocardial infarction. Heart attack. The chest pain radiating to the left arm is a textbook symptom. The diaphoresis, that is the sweating, and the pale skin indicate the body is in distress. He needs an EKG immediately to confirm. If it shows ST elevation, he needs to go to the cath lab for emergency angioplasty. Time is critical. Every minute without blood flow to the heart muscle means more tissue death. The room was silent. Dr. Patel's pen had stopped moving. Where did you learn that? Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine, 19th edition. Chapter 294. I found a copy in the recycling bin behind Mount Sinai 8 months ago. Someone had spilled coffee on it, but the cardiology section was still readable. Dr. Patel looked at Dr. Cross. He is describing the standard protocol for STEMI management, word for word. Doctor, Morrison spoke up, let me try something different. Elijah, a young woman, comes to the ER after a car accident. She is conscious but confused. She has bruising around her eyes and clear fluid leaking from her nose. What concerns you? Elijah's face grew serious. Raccoon eyes and CSF rhinorrhea. That combination indicates basilar skull fracture. The fluid leaking from her nose is cerebrospinal fluid, which means the membrane around her brain has been breached. She is at high risk for meningitis. She needs a CT scan immediately to assess the extent of the fracture. She should not have anything inserted through her nose, no nasogastric tubes, no nasal airways, because of the risk of penetrating into the brain. Dr. Morrison sat back in his chair. That is a second-year medical student answer, at minimum. It is from Tintinalli's Emergency Medicine. Chapter 38. I read it 6 months ago. Dr. Yamamoto had been quiet until now. She was watching Elijah with an expression that was different from the others, less clinical, more maternal. Elijah, can I ask you something personal? Okay, when you were learning all of this, when you were standing outside those windows and reading those journals, what were you thinking? What was going through your head? Elijah was quiet for a long moment. I was thinking about my mama. His voice was smaller now. She died because nobody listened. She sat in a waiting room for 6 hours and nobody would look at her. She kept saying something is wrong and they just told her to wait her turn. He looked down at his hands. I thought if I learned enough, if I understood enough, maybe I could make sure that never happened to anyone else. Maybe I could be the person who listens when nobody else will. Dr. Yamamoto's eyes were wet. You have been carrying that for 11 months, all alone. Elijah nodded. I did not have anyone else to carry it with. Vincent made a sound from the doorway, something between a cough and a sob. Elijah looked at him. But I do now. The testing continued for 2 more hours. They asked him about anatomy. He recited the names of every bone in the human body, 206 of them, in order, without a single mistake. They asked him about pharmacology. He explained drug interactions and dosing calculations and contraindications for medications he had only read about once. They asked him about surgery. He described procedures he had watched through windows, explaining each step with a precision that made the surgeons in the room exchange looks of disbelief. By 4:30, Dr. Cross called a halt. I think we have seen enough. She looked at her colleagues. Gentlemen, Dr. Yamamoto. Thoughts. Dr. Reynolds spoke first. His recall is perfect. I mean genuinely perfect. I have never seen anything like it in 30 years of neurology. His clinical reasoning is solid too. Dr. Morrison added, he is not just memorizing facts. He is applying them. He understands why things work, not just what to do. Dr. Patel nodded. If he were 18, I would recommend him for medical school immediately. He has the knowledge base of a 2nd or 3rd year student, maybe higher in some areas. Dr. Yamamoto looked at Elijah. But he is not 18, he is 10, and he has been through more trauma than most adults experience in a lifetime. She turned to Vincent. Mr. Blackwood, this child needs more than education. He needs support, counseling, time to be a child again. Vincent nodded. That is why he is going to Dalton instead of medical school. He needs to learn how to be a kid before he learns how to be a doctor. Dr. Cross stood up. I agree, but I would also like to propose something else. She looked at Elijah. I want you to shadow me. 1 afternoon a week, you can observe rounds, watch procedures, ask questions. Not as a student, not as a patient, as a colleague in training. She smiled. The youngest colleague NYU Langone has ever had, but I think you have earned it. Elijah looked at Vincent. Can I? Vincent smiled. If that is what you want. It is. Then yes, absolutely yes. 5:15. They were walking back through the hospital lobby when it happened. A woman was screaming, Someone help! Please, my baby is not breathing! Someone help! Elijah turned toward the sound. A young mother was running through the front doors carrying a toddler. Maybe 2 years old, limp in her arms, face turning blue. Elijah did not think. He ran. Vincent shouted behind him, but Elijah was already there, already taking the child from the mother's arms, already laying her on the floor. What happened? The mother was hysterical. She was eating grapes. She started choking. I tried to hit her back, but nothing came out. She just stopped breathing. Please, please help her. Elijah looked at the child, lips blue, chest not moving, eyes half closed. He had read about this. Infant Heimlich maneuver. Tintinalli's emergency medicine. Chapter 16. But he had never done it. His hands were shaking as he positioned the child, face down over his arm, head lower than the body, supporting the jaw without compressing the throat. He delivered 5 back blows between the shoulder blades. Sharp, firm, nothing. He turned the child over, placed 2 fingers on her sternum, just below the nipple line, gave 5 chest thrusts. Nothing. The mother was screaming. Nurses were running toward them. Security was pushing through the crowd, but Elijah was not looking at any of them. He was looking at the child's mouth. He could see something, a glimpse of purple, the grape, lodged in her airway. He opened her mouth, tilted her head back, reached in with his smallest finger, hooked behind the obstruction, and pulled. The grape came out. For one terrible second, nothing happened. Then the child gasped. Her chest heaved. Her color started to change, blue becoming pink, death becoming life. She started crying. The most beautiful sound Elijah had ever heard. The mother collapsed to her knees, scooping up her daughter, sobbing so hard she could not speak. Thank you, thank you, thank you, oh God, thank you. The nurses arrived, took over, started checking the child's vitals, asked questions about what had happened. But Elijah just stood there. His hands were still shaking. He had just saved a life, not with pressure points from a journal article, not with knowledge he had memorized. With his own hand, his own instincts, his own refusal to let another child lose their mother, or another mother lose their child. Vincent reached him, grabbed his shoulders, looked into his eyes. Elijah, are you okay? Elijah's voice was barely a whisper. I did it. I actually did it. Yes, son, you did. Vincent pulled him into a hug. You saved her life. Right here in this lobby. You saved her. Around them, people were applauding, strangers who had witnessed the whole thing, phones that had captured every second. Another video, another miracle, another moment that would spread across the world before the sun went down. But Elijah did not care about any of that. He just held on to Vincent and cried. 6:45. They were back in the apartment. Elijah had not spoken since leaving the hospital. He sat on the couch staring at his hands. The hands that had pulled a grape from a choking child's throat. The hands that had pressed pressure points on a millionaire's legs. The hands that had held his mother's hand while she died. Vincent sat beside him. Talk to me. I keep thinking about what would have happened if I was not there. Elijah's voice was hollow. What if we had left 5 minutes earlier? What if I had not heard the mother screaming? What if I had frozen up and done nothing? But you did not. But I could have. I could have been too scared or too slow or too far away, and that little girl would have died right there on the floor while her mother watched. Vincent was quiet for a moment. You are thinking about your mother. I am always thinking about my mother. Elijah finally looked up. I keep wondering if there was a moment like that. A moment when someone could have saved her and just did not. Maybe a doctor walking by who was too busy. Maybe a nurse who looked at her and decided she could wait. His voice cracked. Someone could have saved her. I know they could have. But nobody tried. Nobody even looked. Vincent reached out and took Elijah's hands in his. Listen to me very carefully. His voice was firm. You cannot save everyone. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot carry the weight of every person who dies because the system fails them. But I could try, and you will try. For the rest of your life, you will try. That is who you are. That is what your mother made you. Vincent squeezed his hands. But you are also 10 years old. You are a child. You deserve to have moments that are not life and death. You deserve to laugh and play and be silly. You deserve to be a kid sometimes. I do not know how to do that anymore. Then we will learn together. Vincent smiled. I do not know how to be a father. I've never done it before. I've spent my whole life being a businessman and a deal maker, and apparently a pretty terrible person. His smile faded. But I want to learn. I want to learn how to be what you need. A father. A protector. Someone who listens. He paused. Can you help me learn? The same way I'm going to help you. Elijah looked at him for a long moment. You really want to be my father? More than I have ever wanted anything. Even more than your $300 million. Vincent laughed. A real laugh. surprised and genuine. Even more than that, especially more than that. He pulled Elijah into a hug. Money is just numbers on a screen. It cannot hold you when you are scared. It cannot tell you everything is going to be okay. It cannot love you. His arms tightened. But I can, and I will, for as long as you will let me. Elijah buried his face in Vincent's shoulder. Okay? Okay, what? Okay, Dad. Vincent's whole body went still. What did you call me? Dad. Elijah's voice was muffled. You said I could call you anything I wanted. I want to call you Dad. Vincent started crying. He had not cried this much in 40 years. He had cried more in the past 24 hours than in his entire adult life. But these tears were different. These were the tears of a man who had finally found something worth more than everything he owned. A son. Sunday morning. 8:30. Elijah woke up to the smell of pancakes. He padded out to the kitchen in his new pajamas and found Vincent standing at the stove again, flour on his face, batter on his apron, looking like he had been fighting a war with breakfast and losing. I may have overestimated my cooking abilities. Vincent held up a pancake that was burned on one side and raw on the other. Elijah laughed. Actually laughed. A real laugh that came from somewhere deep in his belly. It was the first time he had laughed in 11 months. Vincent stared at him. That is a beautiful sound. What? Your laugh. I have never heard it before. Elijah stopped laughing. I have not had much to laugh about. I know. Vincent set down the ruined pancake. But I am going to change that. I am going to make you laugh every single day, even if I have to destroy an entire kitchen to do it. He gestured at the mess around him. Clearly, I am committed to the cause. Elijah laughed again, and again, and again, until he was laughing so hard he could not breathe, until tears were streaming down his face, until he was bent over holding his stomach because it hurt. Vincent watched him with a smile that said this moment was worth more than any deal he had ever closed. 9:15. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Blackwood. There is a group of reporters in the lobby requesting access. They say they will not leave until they speak with Elijah. Vincent's face hardened. Tell them to leave. This is private property. They are saying they have a right to the story. They are saying the public deserves to know more about the miracle boy. Vincent looked at Elijah. Do you want to talk to them? Elijah thought about what they had discussed. About using fame instead of being used by it. About making people listen. Maybe. But not like this. Not ambushed in our home. Smart. Vincent pressed the intercom button. Tell them we will schedule a press conference for tomorrow afternoon. Formal setting. Controlled environment. If they try to ambush us again, I will have them arrested for trespassing. He released the button. Welcome to being famous, son. It is mostly people wanting pieces of you that you did not offer to give. Is it always like this? It gets worse before it gets better. But you learn how to manage it, how to control the narrative instead of letting it control you. The intercom buzzed again. Mr. Blackwood, I have Dr. Cross on the line. She says it is urgent. Vincent picked up the phone. Helena, what is wrong? He listened. His face changed, went pale. When? How many? More listening. We will be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Elijah was already standing. What happened? There was a fire. A homeless encampment under the Brooklyn Bridge. Multiple burn victims being brought to NYU Langone right now. Vincent's voice was tight. That is where you used to live. Elijah felt his blood go cold. The overpass. Mile marker 34. Yes. Elijah was already moving toward the door. I know those people. They are my friends. We have to go. Elijah? Vincent grabbed his arm. This is not going to be easy to see. Burn victims. People you know. People who might not survive. Elijah pulled free. I do not care. I have to help them. I have to try. He looked at Vincent with eyes that were suddenly much older than 10. That is who I am. That is what my mama made me. Remember? Vincent stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Let us go. 10:05. The emergency room was chaos. Doctors and nurses running. Gurneys being wheeled in covered with burned and bleeding bodies. The smell of smoke and charred flesh filling the air. Elijah pushed through the crowd, looking for faces he recognized. Looking for the people who had shared their cardboard and their stories and their meager food with a 9-year-old boy who had nowhere else to go. Elijah. A voice from one of the gurneys. He turned. Marcus. The old man who had taught him which dumpsters had the best food. The man who had given him his only blanket during the coldest night of January. His face was burned. One side blackened and blistered. one arm wrapped in gauze that was already soaking through with fluid. "Marcus, oh God, Marcus!" Elijah grabbed his hand, the one that was not burned. "Kid, I knew you would come." Marcus's voice was a rasp. "Saw you on the news, the whole camp was talking about it. Our Elijah, the miracle boy." He tried to smile, but it turned into a grimace of pain. "Guess you really did make something of yourself. What happened? How did the fire start?" "Someone kicked over a barrel, the ones we use for warmth, caught one of the tents, then it just spread so fast." His eyes were clouding. So many did not get out. Mary, old Pete, the Rodriguez kids. Elijah felt like he had been punched. Elena and Carlos, 6 and 8 years old. They had played with him, shared their food with him, called him Eli because Elijah was too long. They did not make it. Marcus's voice cracked. Their mama got them out, but the smoke had already gotten to them. They were not breathing when the ambulance came. Elijah let go of Marcus's hand. "Where are they? Where are they right now? Kid, there is nothing you can do. Where are they?" A nurse appeared beside him. "Are you the Carter boy, the one from the video?" "Yes, the Rodriguez children are in pediatric intensive care. 3rd floor, but they are not allowing visitors." Elijah was already running. He heard Vincent calling after him, heard nurses shouting that he could not go up there, heard security guards starting to give chase. He did not stop. He took the stairs 3 at a time, burst through the 3rd floor door, followed the signs to the PICU. 2 children in beds surrounded by machines. Elena, Carlos, faces covered with oxygen masks, chests barely moving. A doctor was standing between the beds, talking to a woman who was sobbing so hard she could barely stand. Their mother, Maria Rodriguez, the woman who had helped Elijah find clean water during his first week on the streets. "I am sorry." The doctor's voice was gentle but final. The smoke inhalation was severe. "Their lungs are failing. We have done everything we can, but no." Elijah pushed past the doctor. "No, you have not done everything. Not yet." The doctor spun around. "Who are you? You cannot be in here." "Security." Elijah ignored him. He was looking at the monitors, reading the numbers, understanding what they meant. Oxygen saturation dropping. Carbon monoxide levels elevated. Pulmonary edema developing. He had read about this. Smoke inhalation treatment. Journal of Emergency Medicine. The article about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. They need the chamber. Elijah's voice was calm despite his pounding heart. Hyperbaric oxygen. It clears carbon monoxide from the blood 20 times faster than regular oxygen. It can reverse the lung damage if you start in time. The doctor stared at him. "I know who you are. The kid from the video. But this is not a diabetic ulcer. This is acute respiratory failure, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy is the standard treatment for severe smoke inhalation with carbon monoxide poisoning." Elijah did not back down. The half-life of carboxyhemoglobin is 5 hours on room air, 90 minutes on 100% oxygen, and 20 minutes in a hyperbaric chamber. You can clear their blood in time if you move now. The doctor's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. How do you know that? Journal of Emergency Medicine. February 2024. Smith and colleagues. I read it 4 months ago. The doctor turned to a nurse. Call the hyperbaric unit. Tell them we have 2 pediatric patients incoming. Now. The nurse ran. Maria Rodriguez grabbed Elijah's arm. Elijah. Little Elijah. Is that really you? Yes, ma'am. You grew up. Her eyes were red from crying and smoke. My babies. Can you save my babies? I do not know. Elijah's voice was honest. But I know people who can. And they are going to try everything possible. Maria pulled him into a hug. You came back. After everything you came back. You helped me when nobody else would. You showed me where to find water. You let your kids play with me when everyone else treated me like I was invisible. Elijah hugged her back. I could never forget that. I could never forget you. The medical team moved fast. Within 15 minutes, both children were being wheeled to the hyperbaric unit. Elijah walked beside the gurneys holding Elena's small hand through the plastic covering. She was 6 years old. Same age Elijah had been when his mother first noticed his gift. Same age when he started understanding that being different did not always mean being better. You are going to be okay. He whispered it like a prayer. You have to be okay. You have so much life left to live. Elena's fingers twitched in his hand. The smallest movement. Almost nothing. But Elijah felt it, and he held on tighter. 12:30. The hyperbaric chamber hummed. Both children were inside. breathing pure oxygen at pressure, their blood slowly clearing of the poison that had been killing them. Elijah sat outside the chamber watching through the window. Vincent sat beside him. Dr. Cross had arrived 20 minutes ago. She was conferring with the pulmonary specialist reviewing the treatment protocol that Elijah had suggested. Mr. Blackwood? The PICU doctor approached them. His face was different now. The hostility was gone. I owe your son an apology. Vincent looked at him. Oh, I thought he was just a kid playing doctor. Another viral video sensation who did not really know what he was doing. The doctor shook his head. He was right about everything. The carboxyhemoglobin levels, the hyperbaric protocol, the timing. If we had waited another hour to start treatment, those children would have died. He looked at Elijah. You saved their lives. Not me, not my team. You. Elijah did not look away from the chamber window. Are they going to be okay? It is too early to say for certain, but their numbers are improving. Their oxygen saturation is coming up. Their CO levels are dropping. The doctor paused. They have a real chance now, because of you. Elijah finally turned. Then it was worth it. The doctor nodded slowly. Yes? Yes, it was. 2:15. The chamber opened. Elena's eyes fluttered. Opened. Focused on the face looking down at her. Eli. Her voice was a whisper. Is that you? Yes, Elena. It is me. You look different. I took a bath. Elena smiled. Weak but real. You smell better too. Elijah laughed through his tears. Carlos woke up 20 minutes later. His first words were asking if his sister was okay. When he saw Elena in the bed next to him, saw her breathing, saw her smiling, he started crying. Maria Rodriguez held both her children and sobbed with relief. Thank you. She kept saying it over and over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Elijah stood back, watched the family reunite, watched what he had helped save. And he thought about his own mother, about the family he had lost, about the family he was gaining. Vincent put a hand on his shoulder. You did good, son. Elijah leaned into him. Can we help them? The Rodriguez family. They lost everything in the fire. They have nowhere to go. Vincent did not hesitate. Of course we can. He pulled out his phone. Jennifer, I need another apartment ready. Same building, 2 bedrooms, family of 3, mother and 2 children. Furnish it the same way. Have it ready by tonight. He hung up. Anything else? Elijah thought. There are others from the camp. Marcus. He is the one who taught me how to survive out there. He is burned really bad. We will make sure he gets the best treatment available. And the others who did not make it, the ones who died in the fire, they deserve real funerals, not just being forgotten. Vincent's voice was thick. Then we will give them funerals. Every single one. Proper services, headstones, a place where people can come to remember them. He looked at Elijah. Anyone else? Elijah took a breath. The whole camp, everyone who lived there. They are not just homeless people, they are survivors. They have skills and knowledge and dreams that nobody ever gave them a chance to use. He looked up at Vincent. Can we help them too? Not just with apartments, with jobs, with training, with real chances. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. You are asking me to do more than write checks. I am asking you to see them. The way you finally saw me. Elijah's voice was steady. They are not invisible. They are not nothing. They just need someone to look at them and say, you exist, you matter, you are real. Vincent's eyes were wet. When did you get so wise? My mama taught me. Of course she did. Vincent pulled out his phone again. Marcus, clear my calendar for the next month. All of it. We are starting a new project. Comprehensive support program for homeless individuals. Housing, job training, medical care, counseling. Everything. He paused. And get me a meeting with the mayor. Tomorrow, if possible. This city needs to do better by its invisible citizens, and I'm going to make sure it does. He hung up, looked at Elijah. Happy now. Elijah smiled. Getting there. 5:45. The sun was setting over Manhattan. Elijah stood at the window of the hospital waiting room, watching the light change, thinking about everything that had happened in the past 48 hours. 2 days ago, he had been sleeping under a bridge. Now he was standing in a hospital he had helped save lives in, with a father who had promised to change the world, with a future that stretched out before him like a road made of gold. Son. Vincent's voice behind him. Dr. Cross says the Rodriguez children are being moved to a regular room. They are going to be okay. Good. Elijah did not turn from the window. That is good. Vincent came to stand beside him. What are you thinking about? My mama, always. She would have liked you. Once you got past the whole racist thing you did at the beginning? Vincent winced. I deserved that. You did. Elijah finally turned to look at him. But you changed. That is what matters. You saw who you really were, and you chose to be someone different. He smiled. My mama always said that was the hardest thing any person could do. Look at themselves honestly and decide to be better. Your mother sounds like she was a remarkable woman. She was. Elijah's voice was soft. She was the best person I have ever known, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of her. Vincent put his arm around Elijah's shoulders. You already are, son. You already are. They stood together watching the sunset. A millionaire and a homeless boy. A father and a son. Two people who had found each other in the most unlikely of places, and who were going to change the world together. Tomorrow Elijah would start school. Tomorrow the press conference would happen. Tomorrow the next chapter of his life would begin. But tonight, right now, he just stood with his new father and watched the light fade, and for the first time in 11 months, he felt like everything was going to be okay. His mother's bracelet was in his pocket. Her voice was in his heart, and her legacy was alive in everything he did. Someone please listen, she had said. And finally, the world was starting to hear. Monday morning, 7:15. Elijah stood in front of the bathroom mirror wearing a uniform he had never imagined owning. Navy blazer with gold buttons. White shirt starched so stiff it crackled when he moved. Gray slacks that fit perfectly because someone had measured him 3 times to make sure. Black shoes that squeaked on the tile floor. He looked like a different person. He looked like someone who belonged. You ready? Vincent appeared in the doorway, also dressed formally, also looking nervous. No, Elijah's voice was honest. What if they do not like me? What if they find out I was homeless? What if they think I do not belong there? Vincent walked over and knelt beside him. Listen to me. You saved a man's legs with your bare hands. You saved 2 children from dying of smoke inhalation. You have more medical knowledge than most college students. You belong anywhere you want to be. But I have never been to a real school. Not since 3rd grade. I do not know how to act around normal kids. Then you will learn. The same way you learned medicine. The same way you learned survival. One day at a time. Vincent straightened Elijah's tie. And if anyone gives you trouble, you tell me. I will buy the school and fire them. Elijah almost smiled. You cannot solve everything with money. No, but I can try. 7:45. The car pulled up in front of Dalton School. Elijah's stomach was doing flips. Through the window, he could see students streaming through the front gates. Kids his age. Kids who had never slept under a bridge or eaten from a dumpster or watched their mother die in a waiting room. Kids from a different world. I changed my mind. Elijah's voice was small. I do not want to go. Vincent turned to look at him. Why not? Because they are going to know. They are going to look at me and know I do not belong. I do not talk like them. I do not walk like them. I do not know any of the things they know about being normal. His hands were shaking. What if I fail? What if I disappoint you? Vincent took both of Elijah's hands in his. You could never disappoint me. Do you understand that? Never. His grip tightened. You have survived things that would have destroyed most adults. You have taught yourself more than most people learn in a lifetime. You have saved lives, Elijah, actual human lives. He shook his head. If those kids in there cannot see how extraordinary you are, that is their failure, not yours. But what if no more what ifs? Vincent's voice was firm but gentle. You are going to walk through those gates. You are going to hold your head high, and you are going to show them exactly who Elijah Carter is. He smiled. And if it gets too hard, you call me. I will be here in 10 minutes, I promise. Elijah took a deep breath. Okay. Okay? He opened the car door. Then he stopped. Dad. Yes, thank you. For believing in me when I could not believe in myself. Vincent's eyes glistened. Always, son. Always. 7:52. Elijah walked through the front gates of Dalton School. Every step felt like walking through water. Heavy. Slow. Impossible. Students flowed around him, talking, laughing, completely unaware that a homeless boy was walking among them in borrowed clothes and squeaky new shoes. Elijah found the main office, gave his name to the receptionist, waited while she made a phone call. Mr. Carter. A man appeared from a side door. Tall, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of person who looked like he had never been uncomfortable a day in his life. I am Robert Ashford, headmaster. We spoke on the phone with Mr. Blackwood. He extended his hand. Elijah shook it. Welcome to Dalton. We are honored to have you." Honored. Elijah almost laughed. 3 days ago, he had been eating bread crusts from a dumpster. Now a headmaster was saying he was honored. The world was very strange. "Let me show you to your first class." Mr. Ashford led him through hallways that smelled like old books and floor polish, past classrooms where students sat at desks that cost more than his mother had made in a month, past trophy cases and artwork and everything that screamed wealth and privilege and belonging. Elijah felt like an imposter. Here we are. 5th grade. Mrs. Patterson's class. Mr. Ashford knocked on the door. A woman opened it. Maybe 40 years old. Kind eyes, smile that seemed genuine. "Elijah, we have been expecting you. Please come in." Elijah walked into the classroom. 20 faces turned to look at him. 20 pairs of eyes examining, judging, categorizing. "Class, this is Elijah Carter. He will be joining us starting today. Please make him feel welcome." Mrs. Patterson gestured to an empty desk near the window. Elijah sat down. The boy next to him leaned over. "Hey, I am Tyler. Is it true you are the kid from the video? The one who healed that millionaire?" Elijah nodded slowly. "That is so cool. My dad said you were probably faking it, but I showed him the other videos. The one where you saved the choking baby. He shut up after that." Tyler grinned. "You are like a real-life superhero. I am just a kid. Yeah, but a kid who can do stuff nobody else can do. That is basically the definition of a superhero." Elijah did not know what to say. He had never been called a superhero before. He had been called a lot of things. Street rat. Nobody. Invisible. But never superhero. Mrs. Patterson started the lesson. Math, fractions. Things Elijah had taught himself from a workbook he found in a library donation bin 2 years ago. He already knew all of it. But he did not say anything. Did not raise his hand. Did not try to show off. He just sat quietly and tried to feel normal. It was harder than any medical procedure he had ever attempted. 10:30, recess. Elijah stood alone near the edge of the playground, watching the other kids play, watching them run and laugh and tackle each other like they had never known fear. He did not know how to join them. He did not know how to be a child anymore. "Hey." Tyler appeared beside him. "Why are you standing here by yourself? I do not know how to do this." "Do what?" Elijah gestured vaguely at the playground. "This? Playing? Being normal? I have not done it in a long time." Tyler shrugged. "It is not that hard. You just run around and do stuff. Come on." He grabbed Elijah's arm and pulled him toward a group of kids playing soccer. "We need another player. Elijah is on my team." One of the bigger kids looked Elijah up and down. "The miracle boy. Bet he cannot play soccer as good as he plays doctor." "Probably not." Elijah's voice was quiet. "I have never played soccer before. Never." The bigger kid looked incredulous. What kind of kid never plays soccer? The kind who was too busy trying not to starve. Elijah had not meant to say it out loud. The words just came. The playground went quiet. Kids stopped moving, everyone staring. The bigger kid's face changed. The mockery faded. Something else replaced it. Something that looked almost like respect. "Okay, I will teach you. It is not hard. You just kick the ball and try not to let the other team get it." He passed the ball to Elijah. "Go ahead. Try." Elijah kicked the ball. It went sideways. Completely wrong direction. The kids laughed. But not mean laughter. The kind of laughter that said, "Welcome to the club. Everyone is bad at first. Try again." Elijah tried again, and again, and again. By the end of recess, he still was not good at soccer, but he was playing, running, laughing with the other kids, being normal. It felt strange and wonderful and terrifying all at once. 12:15. Lunch. Elijah sat at a table with Tyler and 3 other kids whose names he was still learning. They had accepted him without question, without judgment, without caring that he had been homeless 3 days ago. Kids were strange that way. They cared about different things than adults. "So your dad is really Vincent Blackwood?" a girl named Maya asked. She had bright red hair and freckles and talked faster than anyone Elijah had ever met. "He is adopting me. The paperwork is still being processed. That is so cool. He is like super rich, right?" "Does he have a helicopter?" "I do not know. I have not asked." "You should totally ask. I bet he has a helicopter. Rich people always have helicopters." Tyler rolled his eyes. "Not everyone with money has a helicopter, Maya. The important ones do." Elijah took a bite of his sandwich. Real bread, real meat, real cheese, food that someone had made for him that morning because they cared if he ate. "Can I ask you something?" Another kid spoke up, quieter than the others. Darker skin. Name was Marcus, which made Elijah think of the old man from the camp. Yeah, in the video when that guy called you those names, the racist stuff. How did you not get mad? How did you just keep trying to help him anyway? Elijah put down his sandwich. I was mad. I was really mad. But my mama always told me that mean people are usually just scared people. People who are hurting so bad they do not know how to do anything except hurt others. He paused. Mr. Blackwood was scared. Scared of losing his legs. Scared of becoming powerless. He lashed out at the easiest target he could find. But that does not make it okay. No, it does not. But holding on to the anger would not have helped anyone. Not him, not me, not the people watching. Elijah looked at Marcus. My mama died because nobody would help her. Because people looked at her and saw someone who did not matter. I did not want to be that kind of person. I did not want to look at someone in pain and decide they did not deserve my help just because they were mean to me. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Your mama sounds like she was really smart. She was. She was the smartest person I ever knew. Elijah smiled. And she would have been really mad at me if I let some racist words stop me from helping someone who was dying. 1:45. The afternoon passed in a blur. English class where Elijah read aloud and discovered he actually enjoyed it. Science class where the teacher asked him about human anatomy and he accidentally gave a 20-minute lecture on the cardiovascular system. History class where he learned about events he had never had time to study while surviving on the streets. By 3 o'clock he was exhausted. But it was a different kind of exhausted. Not the bone-deep weariness of hunger and cold. The satisfied tiredness of a day spent learning and growing and being part of something. The final bell rang. Elijah gathered his things and walked toward the front gate. Vincent was waiting, standing beside the car, looking more nervous than Elijah had ever seen him. How was it? The words came out rushed. Desperate. Elijah smiled. It was good. Vincent's whole body relaxed. Really? Good. Not just okay good. Good. Elijah climbed into the car. I made friends, Tyler and Maya and Marcus and some others. I played soccer. I am really bad at it, but they said I'll get better. And I accidentally taught my science class about the heart for 20 minutes. Vincent laughed. Of course you did. He started the car, ready for the press conference. Elijah's smile faded. Do I have to do it today? I am really tired. I know, but the longer we wait, the more the story gets away from us. Other people start telling your story instead of you. Vincent glanced at him. But if you really cannot do it today, we will postpone. Your well-being comes first. Elijah thought about it. No, let us do it. I want to tell my story. I want people to know about my mama. He straightened in his seat. I want the world to listen. 4:30. The press conference was held in the grand ballroom of a hotel Vincent owned. Elijah had never seen so many cameras, so many microphones, so many faces staring at him waiting for him to speak. He stood at a podium that had been lowered so he could reach the microphones. Vincent stood beside him, Dr. Cross on his other side. Veronica Hayes in this front row ready to handle any legal questions. Ladies and gentlemen, Vincent's voice echoed through the room. Thank you for coming. I know there has been a great deal of interest in the events of Friday evening. I am here to provide context and to introduce you to the remarkable young man who saved my life. He gestured to Elijah. But first, I need to say something. Something I should have said the moment it happened. The room went silent. On Friday evening, when Elijah Carter approached my table, I said things that were racist, cruel, and utterly inexcusable. I called him names. I threatened him. I treated him like he was less than human. Vincent's voice cracked. I was wrong. Completely, totally wrong. And I am deeply, profoundly ashamed of my behavior. He looked directly into the cameras. There is no excuse for what I said. Fear and pain do not justify racism. Wealth and power do not give anyone the right to dehumanize another person. I failed as a human being in that moment, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make amends. The reporters were scribbling furiously. Now I would like to introduce Elijah Carter, not as the boy who saved my legs, but as the extraordinary young man who is teaching me what it really means to be human. He stepped aside. Elijah approached the microphones. His hands were shaking. My name is Elijah Carter. I am 10 years old. Until 3 days ago, I was homeless. I lived under the Brooklyn Bridge for 11 months after my mother died. His voice was small but steady. My mama's name was Grace Carter. She was 33 years old. She worked 2 jobs to take care of me. She never complained. She never gave up. She just kept working and hoping and believing that things would get better. He paused. She died in a hospital waiting room. She had a wound on her foot that got infected. She went to the emergency room, and she waited for 6 hours. She kept telling them something was wrong. She kept asking someone to listen, but nobody would look at her. Nobody would help her. His voice cracked. By the time they finally called her name, it was too late. The infection was in her blood. She died 3 days later. The room was completely silent. After she died, I promised myself I would learn everything I could about medicine, so I could help people the way nobody helped her, so I could listen when nobody else would. He looked up at the cameras. I found medical journals in dumpsters and recycling bins. I watched doctors through hospital windows. I memorized everything I could find, not because I wanted to be famous or rich or powerful, because I did not want anyone else to lose their mama the way I lost mine. Tears were streaming down his face now. Mr. Blackwood said mean things to me on Friday, really mean things. And yeah, it hurt. But I could see he was in pain. I could see he was scared. And I knew I could help him if he would just let me try. He wiped his eyes. My mama always said that mean people are usually just scared people. She said the best way to fight hate is not with more hate. It is with love, with kindness, with being the person you want others to be. He took a breath. So I helped him, even though he was mean, even though he threatened me, because that is what my mama would have wanted. That is who she raised me to be. He looked directly into the cameras. My mama is gone, but her love is not. Her kindness is not. Her dream of a world where everyone gets listened to, where everyone matters, where nobody dies in a waiting room because they are poor or black or invisible, that dream is not gone. His voice grew stronger, and I am going to spend the rest of my life making that dream real. For her. For everyone like her. For every mama and every child who just needs someone to see them and say you exist, you matter, you are real. He stepped back from the microphones. The room erupted, reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing. The sound of hundreds of people reacting at once to something they had not expected. A child who spoke like a leader, a homeless boy who spoke like a king. 5:15, after the press conference. Elijah sat in a small room behind the ballroom. Exhausted, drained, feeling like he had emptied everything inside himself out onto that stage. Vincent sat beside him. You did incredible, son. I feel empty. That is what truth does. It takes everything out of you when you share it. Vincent put his arm around Elijah's shoulders. But it also plants seeds. In every person who heard you today, seeds that might grow into something beautiful. The door opened. Veronica Hayes walked in. Her face was different than before. The fierce lawyer was gone. In her place was something softer. Elijah, that was one of the most powerful statements I have heard in 30 years of civil rights work. She sat down across from him. Do you know how many messages we have received since you started speaking? Hundreds, thousands, from people all over the country who lost someone the way you lost your mother. From people who have been ignored and dismissed and treated like they did not matter. She leaned forward. You gave them a voice today. You made them feel seen. Elijah looked at her. Will it change anything? I do not know. Change is slow. It takes years, decades, generations. She smiled. But it always starts somewhere. With someone brave enough to stand up and say this is not okay. This has to be different. Her voice softened. Today you were that someone. And I promise you people are listening. The door opened again. Dr. Cross stepped in. I hate to interrupt, but there is someone here who needs to see Elijah. Who? Dr. Cross hesitated. His name is James Foster. He was a doctor at Brooklyn General Hospital. She paused. He was one of the doctors on duty the night Elijah's mother died. The room went cold. Elijah felt like he had been punched in the stomach. What does he want? He wants to apologize. He has been watching the coverage all weekend. He says he cannot live with himself anymore if he does not tell you what really happened that night. Elijah looked at Vincent. I do not have to see him if you do not want to. Vincent's voice was careful. Elijah thought about it. About his mother in that waiting room. About the 6 hours of please and someone listen. About the doctor who had finally called her name when it was already too late. No, I want to hear what he has to say. Are you sure? No, but I need to know. Dr. Cross nodded. I will bring him in. She left. Elijah's heart was pounding. Whatever he tells you, Vincent said quietly, remember that it does not change who your mother was. It does not change how much she loved you. It does not change anything about your promise to her. Elijah nodded, but his hands were shaking. The door opened. A man walked in. Maybe 50 years old, gray hair, tired eyes. He looked like he had not slept in days. "Elijah," the man's voice cracked. "I am James Foster. I was the attending physician on December 14th, the night your mother came to the emergency room." He stopped a few feet away. Could not seem to come any closer. "I am so sorry. I am so deeply, deeply sorry. What happened?" Elijah's voice was flat. Why did she have to wait 6 hours? Why did nobody listen to her? James Foster's face crumbled. There was an accident that night. A bus crash. Multiple casualties coming in all at once. We were overwhelmed, understaffed, trying to save everyone and failing. He shook his head. "Your mother was triaged as low priority." The intake nurse looked at her foot and said it could wait. "I never even saw her until..." His voice broke. "Until it was too late. By the time I examined her, the infection had spread to her bloodstream. Sepsis, multi-organ failure starting. There was nothing we could do." Elijah felt tears streaming down his face. She kept saying something was wrong. She kept asking for help. "I know. I read the notes afterward. I saw how many times she asked. How many times she was told to wait." James Foster was crying now too. "I have been a doctor for 25 years. I have lost patients before. It is part of the job. But your mother..." He could barely speak. "Your mother haunts me. Every night. Every single night. I see her face. I hear her voice. I wonder what would have happened if I had walked through that waiting room. If I had looked at her. If I had listened." He fell to his knees. "I am sorry. I am so sorry. I know it does not change anything. I know it does not bring her back. But I needed you to know that I carry her with me, that she matters to me, that I will never ever forget her." Elijah stood up, walked over to the broken man kneeling on the floor, and he did something no one expected. He put his hand on James Foster's shoulder. "My mama would forgive you." "What? She would forgive you. She was like that. She believed in second chances. She believed that people could change." Elijah's voice was stronger now. "You cannot bring her back, but you can make sure it does not happen again. You can fight for better staffing, better triage protocols, better training on recognizing when someone is really sick." He looked down at the doctor. "You can make her death mean something." James Foster looked up at him. "How can you forgive me? How can you possibly forgive me after what I let happen? Because holding on to anger will not bring her back. It will just poison me from the inside out." Elijah pulled out his mother's hospital bracelet. "She is gone. Nothing changes that. But I can choose what I do with her memory. I can choose to be bitter and broken, or I can choose to honor her by being the person she raised me to be." He held out his other hand. "Get up, Dr. Foster. There is work to do." James Foster stared at the offered hand. Then he took it, and Elijah helped him to his feet. 6:45. The hospital ballroom was empty now. Just Elijah and Vincent sitting in chairs that felt too big. "How do you feel?" Vincent's voice was gentle. "I do not know. Confused? Sad? Relieved? All of it at once. That is normal. Processing trauma takes time." Vincent paused. "I am proud of you. What you did with Dr. Foster. Most adults could not have done that. Most adults would have screamed or cursed or stormed out. I wanted to, but you did not." "No? Because that is not who my mama raised me to be." Elijah looked at his mother's bracelet. She would have talked to him, asked him questions, tried to understand. She always said that everyone has a story, everyone has reasons for what they do. You cannot judge someone until you know their whole story. Your mother was very wise. She had to be. Life did not give her any other choice. They sat in silence for a moment. "What happens now?" Elijah asked. "Now we go home, we have dinner, we rest." Vincent stood up. "Tomorrow you go back to school, I go back to work. Life continues. But different. Yes? Different." Vincent smiled. "Better. 8:15. The apartment." Elijah stood at the window, looking out at the city lights. 34 floors up, a universe away from the bridge where he had slept 11 months ago. So much had changed in 4 days. So much that his brain could not process all of it. The phone rang. Vincent answered it in the other room. Elijah could hear his voice, but not the words. A few minutes later, Vincent appeared in the doorway. That was the mayor's office. Elijah turned. "The mayor. He wants to meet you. Tomorrow afternoon. He has been watching the coverage. He says the city needs to do more for its homeless population, and he wants your input." "My input." Elijah almost laughed. "I am 10 years old." You are the most famous 10-year-old in America right now, and you know things about homelessness that no policy expert could ever learn from a textbook. Vincent walked over to stand beside him. He wants to name a city initiative after your mother, the Grace Carter Act. Comprehensive reforms to emergency room procedures, homeless outreach programs, mental health services. Elijah's breath caught. He wants to name it after my mama. He wants you to help design it. Elijah felt tears building again. She would have loved that. She always wanted to help people. She always said if she had more time, more money, more opportunity, she would change the world. He looked at Vincent. Maybe this is her chance. Through me? Through us? Vincent put his hand on Elijah's shoulder. We are going to make her proud son every single day. We are going to build something that lasts forever. Elijah leaned into him. Dad. Yes, thank you for seeing me when nobody else did. Vincent's arm tightened around him. Thank you for letting me. They stood together at the window. Two people who had found each other in the most impossible circumstances. A millionaire who had learned what really mattered. A homeless boy who had taught him. Outside, the city glittered like a million stars fallen to earth. Inside, a family was being built. One day at a time. One miracle at a time. 9:30. Bedtime. Elijah lay in his bed looking at the ceiling. Clean sheets. Soft pillow. A room that was his and his alone. His mother's bracelet was on the nightstand. Close enough to touch if he needed to. He thought about everything that had happened since Friday night. The rooftop, the wounds, the pressure points, the miracle, the school, the friends, the soccer ball flying in the wrong direction, the press conference, the truth. The doctor on his knees begging for forgiveness. So much. Too much. But also exactly enough. He closed his eyes, and for the second time in his new life, he fell asleep without being afraid. In his dreams, his mother was there, smiling, proud, watching over him like she always had. Someone please listen, she had said, and the world was finally starting to hear. 3 months later. February, the morning of the grand opening. Elijah stood in front of the mirror adjusting his tie for the 15th time. His hands would not stop shaking. Today was the day the Grace Carter Wound Care Center would open its doors. Today was the day his mother's name would be carved into stone. You are going to wear a hole in that tie if you keep pulling at it. Vincent appeared behind him, dressed in his best suit, looking almost as nervous as Elijah felt. I cannot get it straight. Here. Vincent knelt down and fixed the tie with practiced hands. There. Perfect. I do not feel perfect. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That is normal. I have opened dozens of buildings and I still feel sick every time. Vincent straightened up. But this one is different. This one matters. Elijah nodded. Because of Mama. Because of her. Because of you. Because of everyone who is going to walk through those doors and finally get the help they need. He put his hands on Elijah's shoulders. She would be so proud of you today. Elijah's eyes stung. I wish she could be here. She is here. Vincent touched Elijah's chest. Right here. She has always been here, and she always will be. 9:30. The Grace Carter Wound Care Center. Elijah had seen the building before, had watched it being renovated over the past 3 months. But seeing it now with the ribbon across the front doors and the crowd gathered on the sidewalk was something else entirely. His mother's name was carved in stone above the entrance. Grace Carter Wound Care Center. Because everyone deserves to be heard. Elijah stopped walking. Dad, his voice cracked. I cannot do this. Vincent stopped beside him. What do you mean? There are so many people, so many cameras. What if I mess up? What if I say something wrong? What if I embarrass her memory? Vincent knelt down so they were eye to eye. Listen to me. You have faced down racist millionaires. You have saved choking babies. You have testified at city council meetings. You have done more in 3 months than most people do in a lifetime. His voice was fierce. You are not going to mess up. You are not going to embarrass anyone. You are going to walk up there and cut that ribbon and honor your mother's memory the way she deserves. But what if no what ifs? Vincent took his face in his hands. You are Elijah Carter. You are extraordinary. And your mother is looking down right now, bursting with pride. He smiled. Now let us go make her famous. 9:45. The crowd parted as they approached. Elijah saw faces he recognized. Doctor. Cross in her white coat. Veronica Hayes in her power suit. Dr. Foster, the man who had been on duty the night his mother died, now wearing a staff badge from the new clinic. Maria Rodriguez with Elena and Carlos fully recovered, holding signs that said, "Thank you, Elijah." He saw faces he did not recognize. Hundreds of them. People who had come from all over the city to witness this moment. Reporters with cameras, politicians with practiced smiles, and scattered throughout the crowd, people who looked like they had come straight from the streets. Homeless, hungry, invisible. Until today. Elijah walked to the podium that had been set up in front of the entrance. The microphones were adjusted for his height now. Someone had learned from the press conference. He looked out at the crowd, and he began. My mama used to tell me stories about the future. She would tuck me in at night and describe the life she wanted for me. A house with a yard, a school with books, a job where I could help people. She painted pictures with her words of everything she dreamed I could become. His voice carried across the silent crowd. She never got to see any of those dreams come true. She died in a waiting room because nobody would listen, because she was poor and black and invisible, because the system that was supposed to help her failed her in every possible way. He took a breath. But her dreams did not die with her. They lived on in me. In the journals I read by streetlight. In the windows I watched through at night. In the promise I made to become someone who listens when nobody else will. He gestured to the building behind him. This clinic is not just a building, it is a promise. A promise that nobody will ever have to die the way my mama died. A promise that everyone who walks through these doors will be seen and heard and treated like they matter. His voice grew stronger. Because they do matter. Every single person. The homeless man sleeping under the bridge. The single mother working double shifts. The child who has never had a doctor look at them with kindness. He looked at the homeless people scattered through the crowd. You matter. You have always mattered. And from today forward you will have a place where people know it. He reached for the giant scissors. In the name of Grace Carter, the best mama who ever lived, I declare this clinic open. He cut the ribbon. The crowd erupted, cheering, applauding, some crying, the sound of hundreds of people celebrating something good in a world that too often forgot what good looked like. Elijah stood there holding the scissors, and he felt his mother's arms around him, invisible but real, proud but gone, forever but present. I did it, Mama. He whispered the words so quietly no one could hear. I did it for you. 11:30, inside the clinic. The first patients were already being seen. Dr. Foster had personally taken the first case. A homeless man named Robert with wounds on his feet that had been ignored for months. Elijah watched through the window of the examination room. He is going to be okay. Dr. Cross appeared beside him. Dr. Foster knows what he missed with your mother. He is not going to miss it again. Elijah nodded. Is it always going to feel like this? Like what? Like I am waiting for something bad to happen. Like this is all too good to be true and any second it is going to disappear. Dr. Cross was quiet for a moment. I cannot tell you that feeling ever completely goes away. Trauma changes the brain. It makes us expect disaster even when things are going well. She put her hand on his shoulder. But it does get easier. With time. With support. With proof that good things can last. She smiled. And you have a lot of good things now, Elijah. A father who loves you. Friends who care about you. A future that is brighter than anyone could have imagined 3 months ago. She knelt down to his level. You do not have to wait for it to disappear. You can just let yourself enjoy it. What if I forget her? Elijah's voice was small. What if I get so happy that I forget how sad I was? What if I forget her voice and her face and the way she smelled like lavender soap? Oh, sweetheart. Dr. Cross pulled him into a hug. You will never forget her. The brain does not work like that. The people we love become part of us. They live in our cells and our memories and our dreams. She held him tighter. Being happy is not betraying her memory. Being happy is honoring it. She wanted you to have joy. She wanted you to have love. She would be heartbroken if she thought her death meant you could never be happy again. Elijah felt tears soaking into her white coat. I miss her so much. I know, baby. I know, she rocked him gently. And you will miss her forever. But missing her and being happy can exist at the same time. That is what love teaches us. That grief and joy can share the same heart. 1:15. The afternoon. The clinic was running smoothly now. Patients coming and going. Doctors and nurses moving with purpose. The smell of antiseptic and hope filling the air. Elijah was sitting in the waiting room watching everyone when a woman walked in. She was maybe 60 years old. Gray hair, tired eyes, clothes that had seen better days. She walked with a limp that suggested her right leg had been hurting for a long time. She approached the reception desk. I do not have insurance. I do not have money. I know you probably cannot help me, but I did not know where else to go." Her voice cracked. "My leg. Something is wrong. It has been getting worse for months. I am scared." The receptionist smiled warmly. "Ma'am, this clinic was built specifically for people like you. We do not turn anyone away. Please have a seat. Someone will see you very soon." The woman's face transformed. "Really? You will not make me wait for hours. You will not tell me to come back when I have insurance. We will see you within 15 minutes. That is our promise." The woman started crying. She sat down in the chair next to Elijah, did not seem to recognize him, did not seem to notice anything except the relief flooding through her body. "I have been to 3 hospitals in the past 2 months." She spoke without looking at Elijah. They all said the same thing. "Wait, come back, get insurance, figure it out." She shook her head. "I thought I was going to lose my leg. I thought I was going to die like my sister did last year." Elijah's whole body went cold. "Your sister?" "Yeah." The woman finally looked at him. She had a wound that got infected. Went to the emergency room. They made her wait so long that by the time they saw her, it was too late. Her voice broke. She was only 33 years old. Single mother, worked 2 jobs, never hurt anybody in her life. And she died in a plastic chair because nobody would listen to her. Elijah could not breathe. "What was your sister's name?" The woman looked at him more closely now, something flickering in her eyes. Recognition, maybe, or confusion. "Grace." She said it slowly. "Grace Carter." "Why do you ask?" Elijah felt the world tilt sideways. "Grace Carter was my mama." The woman's face went white. "What? My name is Elijah Carter. Grace was my mother." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the yellow hospital bracelet. "This is hers. I have carried it with me every day since she died." The woman stared at the bracelet. Then she stared at Elijah. Then she started screaming. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Elijah! Little Elijah! She talked about you all the time. She showed me pictures. Oh my God!" She grabbed him and pulled him into a crushing hug. "I am your Aunt Dorothy, your mama's older sister. I've been looking for you for almost a year. They said you ran away from foster care. They said you disappeared. I thought you were dead." She was sobbing now. "I thought I lost both of them. My baby sister and her baby boy. I thought I was all alone." Elijah's mind was spinning. "Mama had a sister. She never told you about me. We had a falling out years ago. Stupid fight about money. I said things I did not mean. She said things she did not mean. We stopped talking." Dorothy pulled back to look at his face. "I tried to find her when I heard she was sick, but by the time I got to the hospital, she was already gone, and they would not tell me anything about you. Said you were a minor and I was not on any approved list." Her hands were shaking. "I have been searching for a year, putting up flyers, calling shelters, checking morgues." She choked on the word. "I thought I would never find you." Elijah did not know what to feel. 11 months on the streets. 11 months alone, and the whole time someone had been looking for him. Someone had cared. "Why did Mama never tell me about you? She was proud." Dorothy wiped her eyes. "Too proud to admit we had fought. Too proud to tell you she had family who was not there for her." She shook her head. "I should have tried harder. I should have swallowed my pride and reached out, but I thought there was time. I thought we had years to make up." Her face crumbled. "I was wrong?" Elijah took her hands. "You are here now?" She looked at him. "What?" "You are here now. That is what matters?" He squeezed her hands. "Mama would not want us to waste more time being angry about the past. She would want us to focus on the future." He smiled through his own tears. "I have a lot to tell you. About where I have been. About what happened. About who I am now." He gestured around the clinic. "About this place. Named after her because I wanted the world to remember her." Dorothy looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. "You did all this for Grace, not alone, but yes, because she deserved to be remembered, because she deserved to be heard." Dorothy started crying again. "She would be so proud of you." "I know." Elijah pulled her into another hug. "I know she would." 2:45. Vincent arrived at the clinic. He had been in meetings all morning. Paperwork and permits and all the boring things that made buildings actually work. He found Elijah in the waiting room talking to a woman he did not recognize. Both of them crying. Both of them holding hands. "Son?" Vincent approached cautiously. "Is everything okay?" Elijah looked up. His face was different. Brighter somehow, like a door had opened that he did not know existed. "Dad, this is Dorothy. My Aunt Dorothy." Vincent stopped. Your aunt. Mama's sister. She has been looking for me for a year. She just walked into the clinic by accident. He laughed. A wet, broken sound. She came because her leg hurts, and she found me instead. Vincent looked at Dorothy, then back at Elijah. Then he started laughing too. Of all the clinics in all the world, she walks into yours. Dorothy wiped her eyes. You are Vincent Blackwood. I have seen you on the news. I am, and you are family. Vincent extended his hand, which means we have a lot to talk about. Dorothy took his hand. Is it true? Everything they have been saying. You are adopting Elijah. The adoption was finalized last week. He is legally my son now. He looked at Elijah with eyes full of love. The best decision I ever made. Dorothy's face shifted. Fear and hope and uncertainty all mixed together. Where does that leave me? I know I do not have any rights. I know I abandoned Grace when she needed me, but I just found him. I cannot lose him again. Elijah grabbed her hand. You are not going to lose me. You are my family. That does not change just because I have a new family, too. He looked at Vincent. Right, Dad? Vincent nodded slowly. Elijah has a big heart. Big enough for all of us. He smiled at Dorothy. I have a proposal. You need medical care for your leg. You need a place to stay while you heal, and Elijah needs family who remembers his mother the way he does. He paused. Why do not you stay with us for a while? Get healthy. Get to know your nephew again. Tell him stories about his mother that he has never heard. Dorothy's mouth fell open. You would do that. For a stranger, you are not a stranger. Vincent's voice was firm. You are Elijah's aunt. You are Grace's sister. That makes you family. He glanced at Elijah. And family does not let family suffer alone. Dorothy burst into tears again. This time Elijah and Vincent both held her. 3 strangers 6 months ago. Family now. Because that was what love did. It made room. 4:30. That evening. Elijah sat at the dinner table with Vincent on one side and Dorothy on the other. The apartment felt different with 3 people in it. Fuller, warmer, more like a home and less like a museum for rich people. Dorothy had spent the past 2 hours telling stories about Grace. Stories Elijah had never heard. Stories that made his mother real in ways he had forgotten. Tell me about when she was little. Elijah could not get enough. Was she always so brave? Dorothy laughed. Brave? Lord, yes. Too brave for her own good. She took a sip of water. When we were kids, there was this bully in our neighborhood. Big kid, mean kid, used to torment the smaller children. She shook her head. One day he pushed down this little girl, made her cry. Your mama was maybe 7 years old. She marched right up to him and punched him square in the nose. Elijah's eyes went wide. Mama punched someone, broke his nose too, got in so much trouble. Our daddy whooped her good for fighting. Dorothy smiled at the memory, but she did not care. She said she would do it again. Said she could not watch someone get hurt and do nothing about it. Elijah felt tears building. She taught me that. She always said you cannot walk past someone who is suffering. You have to help, even if it costs you something. That was Grace. Dorothy's voice was thick. Always putting others first. Always believing she could fix things if she just tried hard enough. She looked at Elijah. She passed that on to you. I can see it in everything you do. Vincent had been quiet through most of dinner, listening, learning about the woman who had raised the boy he now called son. Tell me about when Elijah was born. Dorothy's face lit up. Oh, that was something. Grace was in labor for 23 hours. Stubborn baby did not want to come out. She laughed. When he finally arrived, Grace took one look at him and said, "This one is going to change the world. I can feel it." She looked at Elijah. She was right. Elijah did not know what to say. He had changed the world, or at least he was starting to. The clinic. The Grace Carter Act being debated in City Council. The homeless outreach programs that Vincent was funding. All of it started with a 10-year-old boy and a millionaire in 20 seconds on a rooftop. But it did not feel like changing the world. It just felt like keeping a promise. 8:15. Bedtime. Elijah stood in his room looking at the wall where he had hung his mother's hospital bracelet. Vincent had had it framed. Professional job, museum-quality glass. Something that would last forever. Below it, Elijah had added a photograph. The only one he had. His mother holding him as a baby. Both of them smiling at something outside the frame. "Hey, Mama." He spoke to the photograph like he did every night. "Guess what happened today? I found Aunt Dorothy. Or she found me. Either way, she is here now. She told me stories about you, about when you were little, about when I was born." He smiled. She said you knew I was going to change the world. Did you really know? Even back then, did you see something in me that I could not see in myself? The photograph did not answer, but Elijah felt something, a warmth in his chest, a certainty that had no logical explanation. I miss you, every day, every minute. His voice cracked. But I am okay now. I have Dad. I have Aunt Dorothy. I have friends and school and a whole future ahead of me. He touched the glass of the frame. I am going to make you proud. I promise. Every single day. I am going to be the person you knew I could be. He paused. Someone please listen, you said, and the world is finally starting to hear. He wiped his eyes. Good night, Mama. I love you. He turned off the light, and for the 1,000th time since this all began, he fell asleep with her memory wrapped around him like a blanket. 1 year later, the anniversary, Elijah stood at the podium of the American Medical Association's National Conference. 11 years old now. Taller, stronger, but still carrying that same fire in his eyes. The youngest speaker in the organization's 200-year history. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice was steady despite the 3,000 people staring at him. 1 year ago today, I walked onto a rooftop terrace in Manhattan and offered to heal a man who had called me every racist name he could think of. He paused. I did not do it because he deserved my help. He did not. I did it because I had made a promise to my mother, a promise to become someone who listens when nobody else will. He looked out at the audience. In the past year, the Grace Carter Wound Care Center has treated over 12,000 patients. 12,000 people who walked through our doors expecting to be ignored, expecting to be dismissed, expecting to be told their pain did not matter. His voice grew stronger. Instead, they found doctors and nurses who listened, who looked at them and saw human beings worthy of care, who treated them with the dignity that every person deserves. He gripped the podium, but it is not enough. 12,000 is a drop in the ocean. There are millions of people in this country who cannot access basic health care. Millions who die every year from conditions that could have been treated if someone had just listened. He looked directly at the audience. You have the power to change that. Every single one of you, every doctor, nurse, administrator, policymaker in this room. You have the power to build a system that sees people instead of problems, that hears pain instead of dismissing it, that treats every patient like they matter because they do. He took a breath. My mother died because nobody listened. She was 33 years old. She had a son who needed her. She had dreams she never got to achieve, and she died in a plastic chair in a waiting room because the system failed her. His voice cracked. I cannot bring her back. Nothing I do will ever bring her back, but I can fight to make sure no other child loses their mother the way I lost mine. He straightened. That is why I am here. Not for fame or recognition, not because I want attention. I am here because every day that we do not fix this system, more mothers die. More children become orphans. More families are destroyed by preventable tragedies. He looked at them with eyes that had seen too much and believed too hard. So I am asking you, I am begging you, be the change that medicine needs. Listen to your patients. See their humanity. Remember why you became doctors in the first place. He paused. And when you are tired, when you are burnt out, when you want to look past the homeless man with infected wounds or the single mother with the pain that will not go away, remember Grace Carter. Remember that she was someone's mother, someone's sister, someone's everything. His voice broke on the last word. Remember that everyone who walks through your doors is someone's everything. He stepped back from the podium. Thank you. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then someone stood up, then another, 3,000 people rising to their feet, applauding, crying, transformed. The standing ovation lasted 7 minutes. Elijah stood there receiving it, not for himself, for his mother, for every invisible person who had ever been overlooked, for everyone who had ever said someone please listen and heard only silence in response. Vincent was in the front row, crying openly, prouder than he had ever been of anything in his entire life. Beside him sat Dorothy and Dr. Cross and Veronica Hayes and Dr. Foster and Maria Rodriguez with Elena and Carlos. A family built from tragedy, a future built from pain, a legacy that would last forever. 5 years later, Elijah Carter graduated from high school at 16, valedictorian, full scholarship to Harvard, pre-med track that would take him to Johns Hopkins Medical School, the same hospital where Vincent's father had pushed a mop for 30 years. The Grace Carter Network now included 47 clinics across the country. The Grace Carter Act had passed in 32 states. Homeless deaths from preventable medical conditions had dropped by 63% nationwide, and Elijah was just getting started. 10 years later, Dr. Elijah Carter walked through the doors of NYU Langone Medical Center, not as a homeless child pressing his face against windows, as the chief resident of emergency medicine. 21 years old, the youngest in the hospital's history, he stopped at the 4th floor, East Wing, the window where he used to stand watching residents do their rounds. Someone had put up a plaque there, in memory of the window kid who watched from outside until we finally let him in. Elijah touched the plaque and smiled. His mother's bracelet was still in his pocket, her voice was still in his heart, and her legacy was alive in every patient he saved, every life he touched, every person he looked at and said, "You exist, you matter, you are real." 20 years later, the dedication ceremony for the new wing of Grace Carter Medical Center, the largest free healthcare facility in the United States. Elijah stood at the podium, 41 years old now, gray starting at his temples, lines around his eyes from too many late nights saving lives, but still carrying that fire, still burning with the promise he had made to a dying mother 31 years ago. Vincent sat in the front row, 82 years old, wheelchair bound again, but alive, and proud, and surrounded by the family he had built from scratch. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elijah's voice carried across the crowd. 31 years ago, a homeless 10-year-old boy walked onto a rooftop terrace and changed the course of history. He smiled. I know because I was that boy. He looked out at the thousands of people gathered. My mother, Grace Carter, died because nobody would listen to her. But her death was not the end of her story. It was the beginning. He gestured to the building behind him. This medical center, these 47 clinics, these laws that protect the most vulnerable among us. All of it started with a promise I made to her. His voice grew thick. I promised I would become someone who listens, and I have spent every day of the past 31 years keeping that promise. He looked at Vincent. I was not alone. I had a father who saw me when I was invisible, who believed in me when I could not believe in myself, who showed me that redemption is possible for anyone willing to change. Vincent wiped his eyes. I had family who found me when I thought I was alone. Dorothy, now in her 90s, smiled from her wheelchair. I had teachers and mentors and friends who helped me become the person my mother knew I could be. Dr. Cross, Maria Rodriguez, Tyler and Maya and Marcus from that first terrifying day of school, all of them here, all of them part of the story. But most of all, I had her. Elijah pulled out the hospital bracelet, still yellow, still faded, still carrying the weight of everything he had become. Grace Carter, my mother, my first teacher, my reason for everything. He held the bracelet up so everyone could see. She taught me that everyone deserves to be heard, that everyone matters, that love is not something you feel, but something you do every single day, even when it is hard, even when it costs you everything. His voice rang out across the crowd. She taught me that someone please listen is not just a cry for help, it is a challenge, a call to action, a demand that we be better than we have been. He looked directly into the cameras broadcasting this moment around the world. So I am passing that challenge on to you, every person watching, every doctor and nurse and policymaker, every parent and child and stranger on the street. Listen. His voice was a command now. Listen to the homeless man asking for change. Listen to the mother saying something is wrong. Listen to the child who has no words for what they need. Listen, and then do something about what you hear. He lowered the bracelet. My mother, Grace Carter, died 31 years ago, but her voice lives on. In these walls, in these clinics, in every life saved by someone who finally learned to listen. He smiled. And it will live on forever. In you. In your children. In every generation that comes after. Because that is what love does. It echoes. He stepped back from the podium. The crowd erupted. Not just applause. Something more. A sound like the world shifting on its axis. A sound like millions of people finally understanding what it meant to listen. Elijah stood there receiving it, his mother's bracelet in his hand, his father's love in his heart, his family surrounding him, his legacy stretching out before him like a road made of light. Someone please listen, Grace Carter had said with her dying breath, and her son had made sure the world never stopped hearing. That night, the hospital room. Vincent was dying. 82 years of life. 31 years of being a father. Millions of dollars spent on causes that mattered. And now his body was finally giving out. Elijah sat beside his bed, holding his hand, the same way he had held his mother's hand 31 years ago. Son, Vincent's voice was barely a whisper. "I need to tell you something." "What is it, Dad?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For saving my legs on that rooftop, for teaching me how to be human, for giving me a reason to become someone worth being." Vincent's eyes were wet. "I was a terrible person before I met you. Cruel, selfish, blind to everything that mattered." He squeezed Elijah's hand. "You changed me, not with pressure points or medical knowledge, with grace, with kindness, with the love your mother gave you that you passed on to me." "Dad," Elijah's tears were falling freely now, "you do not have to thank me. You gave me everything. A home, a family, a future. I gave you things." Vincent shook his head weakly. "You gave me something money could never buy. You gave me a reason to live, a reason to change, a reason to believe that even someone like me could become someone good." He looked at Elijah with fading eyes. "Promise me something, anything. Do not stop. Do not ever stop listening. Do not ever stop fighting for the people nobody else sees." Vincent's grip tightened. "Be her voice, your mother's voice. Forever." Elijah brought Vincent's hand to his lips. "I promise, Dad. I will never stop." Vincent smiled. The same smile Elijah remembered from that first night in the apartment, when everything had changed, when family had begun. "I love you, son. I love you too, Dad." Vincent closed his eyes, and he was gone. Elijah sat there holding his hand, crying for the second father he had lost, but also grateful. Grateful for 31 years. Grateful for every moment. Grateful that a racist millionaire on a rooftop had become the best father a homeless boy could have ever asked for. He pulled out his mother's bracelet, held it against his heart. 2 people gone now. 2 people who had loved him with everything they had. 2 people who had taught him what it meant to be human, and their voices would live on. In him, in his work, in every person who walked through the doors of a Grace Carter clinic and finally found someone willing to listen. Elijah Carter stood up, wiped his eyes, and walked out of the room to continue the work they had started together. Because that was what love did. It continued. Forever. 50 years after the rooftop. An old man sat in a rocking chair on the porch of a house in Brooklyn, not far from the bridge where he had once slept, not far from the hospital where his mother had died. Elijah Carter was 80 years old now, retired from medicine but never retired from the work. A little girl ran up to him. "Great-Grandpa Elijah, tell me the story again." "Which story, sweetheart?" "The one about the mean man and the miracle boy." Elijah smiled, pulled the girl onto his lap. The bracelet was still in his pocket. 60 years of carrying it everywhere. "Well, it started on a Friday night in November. 48 degrees. A homeless boy followed the smell of food to a fancy restaurant. The little girl listened with wide eyes, the same way children had listened for 50 years. The same story told 1,000 times. The same truth that never got old. That everyone deserves to be heard. That everyone matters. That love can transform the cruelest heart. That one child armed with nothing but knowledge and grace can change the entire world." Elijah finished the story. The little girl hugged him. "I want to be like you when I grow up, Great-Grandpa. I want to help people." "Then listen." Elijah touched her chest. "Listen with your heart. See people who others overlook, and never ever walk past someone who needs help." She nodded solemnly. "I promise." "Good." Elijah kissed her forehead. "Now go play. I need to rest these old bones." She ran off laughing. Elijah watched her go, his mother's bracelet warm in his pocket, his father's memory warm in his heart, a life built from tragedy, a legacy that would last forever. He closed his eyes, and somewhere, somehow, he heard his mother's voice. "I am so proud of you, baby boy. You changed the world, just like I always knew you would." Elijah smiled, and in that moment he was not an old man on a porch. He was a 10-year-old boy on a rooftop, terrified but brave. Hungry but determined, invisible but about to become unforgettable. "Someone please listen," his mother had said, and the world had finally heard, because Elijah Carter had made sure of it, every single day, for 80 years, and for generations to come. That was his gift to her. That was his gift to the world. That was the miracle that started in 20 seconds and lasted forever. Some people change the world with power. Some people change it with money. Elijah Carter changed it with love. And love never dies.